All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome yet again to another episode of your favorite true crime talk show. You got me all thrown off now.
Sorry.
The True Crime Talk Show brought to you by Thought Riot Podcast. My name is Brendan.
And I'm Malia. Welcome to the show.
Yes, welcome, everybody. I have quite a bit to go through tonight. I brought a whole bunch of topics because classically for the last 2 weeks, we've really taken the Friday show and kind of done a recap over everything kind of that has gone on during the week, whether it's been in our shows or it's been in the community or it's been in true crime or it's been in the news or it's been, I don't know, I ran out of things to say, but anyways, let's get into it.
Okay, let's do it.
What do you want to start with? Do you want to do the intro? Let everybody know where they can find us at.
I thought that was the intro, but you can find us on any podcast platform, literally any. And, you know, all the social medias, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. If you're here on YouTube, we're live on X right now too. What else? There's nothing else. Like, that's all the social medias, right? Oh, Patreon. Yeah, we're on all of them. And yeah, so check them all out. We're literally anywhere you can find podcasts or social media accounts.
Yeah, I think that was a good intro because yes, you're right. We are on
it's that simple.
Everywhere, at all times, everywhere.
All at once.
Yep, all at once.
Yep.
And no matter where you go, you just search Thought Riot Podcast, spelled all the way out, Thought Riot Podcast, except for Twitter, or AKA X, that is Thought Riot Pod. I wonder if you search Thought Riot Podcast, if it would pull us up, though. Probably would by now. But anyways, welcome to the show, everybody. Welcome. We see some super chats coming in here. And James coming through again. Thank you and welcome, James.
Yes, it does pop up when you Google Thought Riot Podcast on Twitter. Ours pops up.
Oh, good. James coming in says, hit that like button. I did. Hello, Brendan and Malia. Hello. And yes, please do hit that like button, you guys. This is a viewer-funded show, and we depend on you guys to hit that like button. We depend on you guys to leave comments under the show. We depend on you guys to let us know what is interesting and what you guys want us to talk about. So any of your input is always appreciated, constructive criticism and everything in between. So please feel free to not hold back. Let us know what you're thinking, how you're thinking it, and everything in between. So, all right, I wanted to touch on a few things because I had released a video today that was actually recorded quite a while ago. And, you know, I want to put this out there into the Thought Riot Podcast viewer sphere to see how people respond to it. But, you know, we put a video out and we were talking about Rex Heuermann. If you don't know who Rex Heuermann is, he is the assumed serial killer of the
Gilgo Beach.
Gilgo 4, of the Gilgo 4, which is believed to be more, but in the Gilgo Beach area, New York area, the FBI actually ended up arresting this guy. There has been about a 10-year investigation into him. Let me find a picture of him here. But he is believed to be a well-established killer based on how his victims were found. So that's why the FBI is continuing to look at other areas and continue to search. So, but anyways, we put a video out. Do you remember when we recorded the video talking about his depression?
Yes.
Okay, well, I just released that. That was sitting there unreleased for a while. And some people responded in the comments talking about, and it makes sense, right? And I'm glad they did respond with that. But traditionally, when we're looking into investigations, at least for the last probably year, we've been questioning investigations. And with the Rex Heuermann case, I myself am not questioning the investigation. And, you know, some people left comments saying that, you know, because it has to do with the feds or something like that. I know a lot of people out there like to think that we're feds or a Fed channel. Definitely not it. But I wanted to put it out there that we don't believe in that evidence because it's FBI evidence. We believe in that evidence because when you look at the technology related evidence in that case, it is so strong. It is so strong that if you stripped every other piece of evidence away, like if you took away the hair samples that are left on the bodies that are tied directly to Rex Heuermann's family members, if you took away the search results on his computer and just had the cell phone evidence, that cell phone evidence convicting him is so strong, it is impossible for it to be somebody else, in my opinion. And one thing that I was wondering, since a lot of people like learning about the cell phone related technology, is should we pull up that 1,350 page arrest warrant and go through the cell phone technology in there to show people like what is sound technology evidence versus what we're seeing in the Bryan Kohberger case?
Yeah, that's a good idea to compare contrast the cell phone evidence in the Gilgo case compared to the Idaho 4 case.
I agree. And like,
there's a lot more transparency in this Gilgo case though.
1,300 pages of transparency. Yeah. They literally laid everything out there.
They had to. They were dealing with corruption that everyone knew was there. They had to be more open.
Yeah.
Well, I guess they didn't have to. They didn't have to, but they did it intentionally to help go against that because they had that police commissioner and so many people that he corrupted.
Yeah.
That were helping him. That they just it was the best idea. You know?
No, I do think it was a good idea. And just to give you guys a little bit of an example of like what the technology evidence is here. So I think I touched on it briefly last night. And I want people to understand too that, look, we always approach everything that anybody arrested is innocent until proven guilty. However, I need everyone to understand that in a situation where I feel like there's enough evidence that I can confidently say, yes, this is at least my stamp of believability, right? And like, what's my opinion? Nothing. We all have opinions, right? But I do believe, based off what I'm seeing in the arrest documents, is that there is enough evidence to say he is the guy, in my opinion. And like I said, you could take away the hair samples, you could take away the search results, which the search results are extremely eye-opening, but just the cell phone related evidence makes me feel like confidently he is the guy. And
you know what's really fascinating in that case? So I do think we should do that. Obviously not read all 1,300 pages.
Well, I was thinking of reading all 1,300 just straight, no breaths, one giant breath.
Anyway, I think another really interesting thing about the Gilgo case that we haven't dove into is all the other potential serial killers around this area who might also be him, because there's weird connections that he has to these areas. It's either a ring of serial killers or somehow some weird synchronicity where there's many serial killers in this area, or it's all him and he's changed MO multiple times. It's really bizarre. They've been looking into it for a while. Obviously, we know they were looking in Las Vegas. They were looking in Atlantic City. But there's areas that aren't across the country. There's areas right there in their backyard, basically. You know, and I'm using that as a metaphor. Like, I mean, that whole area where it could be him.
Yeah.
Who knows how many people he's killed?
Yeah. That's really funny, James. But that we would only be able to bust through it once. So super chat coming through. James Just a thought. In your next place, find someone to paint that same brick wall and you and Malia busting through. I think, oh yeah, Kool-Aid man. But we'd only be able to do that once, but that would be awesome. Like incredible.
Not if you had someone skilled enough to paint it like it's already busted through.
Oh, painting it like we're busting through.
Not paint
so like
us.
We're painted behind us.
No.
Oh. No,
paint the busted through parts like you know, like when you go to a
and put the Kool-Aid man up there.
No,
Oh.
No, you got to put Jeffrey Dahmer up there.
No, that would be weird.
You put serial killers
busting through.
I'm just kidding.
Gosh.
No, I mean, like, you know, like when you go to like I don't know what places have those cutouts that little kids do, where it's like a farmer and the lady, and they're looking through.
Yeah,
you could have it like that, but behind it is black or something, and then you know what I mean.
Yeah,
so you don't have to literally bust through it.
No, I got you. I was just kidding, but no, we appreciate that, James. That would be really funny. Or even if we did a photo shoot of that, and that's like an intro video or something. But okay, let me give you guys a taste of the evidence here. And I just lightly said it the other day, and we aren't going to stay on this too long, but I want to show you guys like what we're talking about here and why it's so solid.
Just a painting. Okay, just a painting.
I believe it's so solid. So, and that's such an interesting idea. Before I go on to that, there, you know, a lot of people, myself included, it is like a human trait, right? It is our own human traits working against us, that we minimize what somebody's capabilities are. And I think it's because we inherently do it to ourselves, so you can't help but do it to someone else. But when you're thinking about a serial killer, someone such as Rex Heuermann could be, or is, or I believe he is, we have this idea that like they have an MO and they can't go outside of that MO. And what's really interesting is that's not necessarily true. And somebody that has enough skills to have been doing it long enough to be totally controlled and completely understand these nature-driven urges within them, they would know that they should only do a few and change their MO, and do a few and change their MO, and do a few and change their MO. And that is the most reliable way to not get caught.
Yep.
And, you know, maybe the ones that have hairs on them and things like that are ones that he just couldn't control himself, because notoriously we see serial killers have an obsessive nature that they have a hard time controlling, you know? So that's an interesting idea.
Well, they say that. So Henry Lee Lucas is one that claimed he always killed his victims in different ways so that the cops wouldn't catch on. There aren't a ton. Like when I think about serial killers, a lot of them did kill in similar ways over and over, but they do say that BTK possibly changed, but he also changed depending on who he was killing. Like if it was someone who was his
fantasy
victim, if it was somebody
he planned it before,
if it was somebody who is his victimology type, that was
that
was a certain thing, you know. But if it was people who are victims of circumstance, they usually were killed in different ways, if I am remembering correctly.
No, you are right. So he had a victim type where he did end them in a certain way, and then he had these weird obsessive like ideas of how he wanted to end somebody, and those people tended to be random. Like that has to do with the whole barn drawing, and you know, the like all those weird drawings. Well, those drawings would come first, and then he would go find somebody and then do it that way. But but
I think Richard Ramirez killed people in different ways.
Richard Ramirez was a different one though, because that's not a controlled Richard Ramirez wasn't a controlled setting. He was a very obsessive.
I'm really curious how many have changed their MOs. Like if we have any really good examples of that.
It's not many.
Well, Henry Lee Lucas is the one that I found that they say he literally claimed that, but
Bundy
I'll
would
have to look into him.
Bundy would have been somebody who changed his MO, I believe, based on his personality traits, except he got caught too fast. So like for a lot
fast.
of
He should have been caught a long time ago.
I'm talking about when you're looking at his history of victims, there's a large portion of that history where he's either should be arrested or behind bars, broken out, on the run.
Yeah.
So like that's different because you're being forced to act with urgency, not in a controlled manner. Like when you have Rex Heuermann, who the cops had no idea who this guy was, none whatsoever, just free to walk around, strut his stuff, and do whatever he wanted to these victims. Absolutely absurd situation. But so that's a very different situation and setting. But anyways, all the way back around to the cell phone evidence. So Rex Heuermann, for a long time, for the last decade, had been using a burner phone, you guys. And I talked about this a little bit the other night, but he used a burner phone thinking that would stop him from getting caught. Okay.
Mhm.
And sure, a long time ago, that might have been true. But because geo-blended tracking is so efficient, the feds were able to track his phone, and then what they did is they looked for all devices that were within range of Bluetooth, messaging, Wi-Fi, any of those device-specific connectivity options that we have in our phones, and realized that his phone was picking up this other phone. And this other phone actually was at all the crimes being used.
You know,
and that's geo-blended data. That's what they used.
Did you hear the lawyer, John Ray? You remember him, right?
Yeah.
Shannon Gilbert's family lawyer. Well, they were looking into the wife's alibis.
I do know that.
Did we talk about that?
Yeah, we had some
where they called the
videos.
hotel. They called the hotel she was supposedly at, and the manager said she never showed up, that she was not there.
Wait, what?
In another city during one of the murders.
No way.
Yeah. If what he found was true, talking to that person, they looked it up on the phone with him on the computer.
No
Which
way.
I don't know how the cops would miss that. But I don't know. There can be blind spots sometimes in investigations.
No. Not sometimes. There are blind spots in every investigation because there's blind spots in every human, including everybody.
And everybody underestimates women when it comes to this type of stuff. When it comes to like a serial killer husband, they underestimate the wife.
Absolutely.
Now, and I do, because
women are always the worst and always the. Just kidding. I'm just kidding.
To smack you. Okay. No, I underestimate, and of course, if they have nothing to do with it at all, like I don't want to point fingers at them. There's just major red flags in this situation. And before Rick Snay started, or not Rick Snay, oh my gosh, John Ray started uncovering some of that stuff, I was like, leave the family alone. Until I had red flags, I was like, they are innocent. They've done nothing.
Okay.
I was like, until we see red flags.
Talking about it, I listened
in the beginning, but we didn't know.
Agree. Even if someone's guilty, I don't agree with that approach. Okay, like I said, Bryan Kohberger could be guilty, and this is one of the most heinous crimes ever. When 4 young people lost their lives way too soon. I'm still not going to come out here and degrade him as a person. That is what our justice system is for. And that's why the state's going to put him to death if he is guilty, right? So to come out there and just like minimize someone as a human in that way, let their actions do that, because nobody's words are going to do that. We issue power to words, but words have no power. None. That words only have power when we issue them power. You know what I mean?
Not everyone's going to agree with you on that, but I get your point.
Yeah, I don't want anyone to agree with that. That's just my take on it. You know, the things that have power are provable outcomes, in my opinion.
Yeah. You're evidence-based, action-led type person.
Yes.
Actions and evidence are everything. Words mean nothing.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I totally understand that argument. There's certain situations where I think words do have meaning. Like they're our language. They're how we communicate, and they may be only a small part of that communication. In all actuality, body language is a big, huge part of our communication as humans. I think it's technically, isn't it bigger than verbal communication?
Well, so
because it's how it's said, it's the tone, it's the body language, and what's being said is only a very small part of what humans are picking up on when you're communicating.
I know exactly what you're talking about. And
there's a percentage that's been put to it, though.
Right. But the thing is you're getting into theoretical science where there's no guarantee that, yes, we can 100% effectively say that this percentage is, you know, is what our average communication intake is for words. This percent is nonverbal actions like body language, micro expression, tone, things of that nature. There's no way to actually put a number on it, but people have theorized that. And based on my experience in sales, where it's really important to read body language, micro expression, how people stand, how far people stand away from you, and everything in between, I tend to believe that there are different types of people who are better at gauging those things in different ways. So like one person will be really good about telling how someone is feeling, engagement, everything based off tone. Another person will be really good about body language. Another person will be really good about, you know, who knows? I don't think there's one statistic is what I'm getting at. I think there's a whole mix of people who are better at some than others. And, you know, because I trained hundreds of people how to sell for a long time. And part of training people how to sell is learning which one of those things they're better at. You know what I mean? Is not me teaching them, but helping them learn themselves. And I've just found in that time that different people do it different, and there isn't one that's better than the other, you know?
Yeah. I see what you're saying for sure.
All right. So what do we have update wise? But anyways, real quick before I move on. So let me know if you guys are interested in going over that cellular data in the Rex Heuermann case. Leave a comment under this video. Leave a comment under some video or the video that was released earlier. And let me know if you want to hear about that cellular data or not.
Just an analysis of the Gilgo evidence or a compare and contrast?
Either one.
Okay.
Do you want to take over any updates on the Sebastian Rogers case?
Yeah. So there was a vigil tonight, Light the Path, for Sebastian Rogers, the 15-year-old autistic boy who was reported missing out of Hendersonville, Tennessee on February 26th. You know, it's 61 days, I believe, at this point. We're 2 months into his disappearance. With no answers, literally no answers. The vigil, the only part I could really see anything, it was Seth being held. Like people were literally all touching him and surrounding him while they were praying.
Like praying for him?
Yeah, okay. Praying with him. Yeah. And they had a bunch of green glow sticks. Sebastian's favorite color is green. I didn't see any Proudfoots, which is interesting. Because we know that Seth has said they were going to unite forces to help find Sebastian. Well, since we last talked about this, Seth has been on 2 mainstream media shows. Okay. One is Vinnie Politan's show on Court TV, where he said the most memorable, notable thing from that interview for me was when he talked about sending Chris Proudfoot emails saying he's waiting for approval on a few things, such as a spokesperson that can speak for all three of them, Katie, Chris, and Seth. So the bio mom, dad, and stepfather.
Yep.
So that there's no more like slander, there's no more throwing mud at each other. So he was sent that to him for approval. He sent him approval basically. And I saw this being misconstrued. What he was saying was he found a dog handler with dogs who are very well trained, like incredible. Like he said, overly qualified for this, that he wanted to come in and look at the house again, essentially. Because he needed Chris Proudfoot's approval. And everybody's like, what? You need his approval for dogs? Well, because he wants them to sniff around the house and then obviously out around the property. So he needs Chris's approval for that. It's Chris's property. So he was waiting for approval on that. It sounded like he hadn't got a response yet. We haven't heard much else. Yeah, I agree. It is odd, but I don't know. Again, Seth is losing his mind.
Yeah.
His son is gone. Yeah. He is, I mean, here, the other one. So moving forward, this just explains it for you, okay? So he was on the Vargas report on News Nation. And him and his new PI, which is Justice Warren Investigates on Facebook. I forget her real name. Yeah, I can't remember her real name right now. Anyway, she was on there and they talked to both of them. And she said like some updates on the case, like what she knows so far. And she said that the police are communicating with her, not Seth now. She's the middleman between him and the police at this point because Seth is so hard for the cops to communicate with. The cops are having a really hard time communicating with him because he's losing his mind. He's difficult, Yeah,
like he's offended or being negative to
the police,
law enforcement. I mean, listen, this is one of those things where, I try really hard not to dig on police, but sometimes, man, police are there to protect and serve, And in my opinion, a law enforcement officer, like every law enforcement officer is not a mega Chad, where you're just ripped, buff, a straight up beast. You don't care about nothing because you're about to go in the arena and fight for your life against another man with no shirt. Like you're there. There's a customer service aspect to law enforcement. And that customer service aspect is being able to meet the people in your in your public, in the area you serve, and be able to have conversations with them, be able to reason with them, be able to meet them on their level and understand that what is going on for them is emotionally draining and invested in a way that the law enforcement officers aren't. So like, you know how often I see police get offended in the way that where, let's say, a kid is missing and the mother is like, I don't understand why you're here, whatever. And I'm using an exact example. I just don't have the video to show you. I would need to go digging. And the cop gets offended that she's saying, like, why are you even here? Why are you not out looking for my kid? And she ends up being detained. And that video is so absurd, dude. Like, what is going on in you that you can't just let her scream and, talk offensive because she's lost something that is the most, the most important thing to her in her entire life? I don't know. I just think cops can do better.
They can do better. And I agree with you. I don't think
I'm not making excuses for him. I mean, overall, for everybody.
Right. Seth Rogers is involved in the criminal justice system. He works with cops every day.
Yeah.
Even if it's not in Hendersonville. The problem is he's a grieving father. He's a father who's missing his son and feels like nothing is being done and there's nowhere to go. He has zero leads. It's 2 months in. Can you imagine? I mean, if you don't have a kid, have you ever had a pet go missing? Like, that's the only thing that could probably be comparable to you other than a parent go missing.
Yeah.
Just like someone who's the most beloved to you, period. If they go missing, like, I can't imagine. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do know.
I would be a nightmare. I would for sure be a nightmare if it were me.
Yeah.
And I think that every cop should at least know, like, any parent missing their child for the most part is going to be a nightmare to deal with. And they are allowed to be that.
Yeah.
As long as obviously they're not violent or insulting you.
Well,
and you can draw those lines and boundaries and, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. And I want to give this shout out real quick. So James coming through again, people saying things about people that haven't been proven. Would that be defamation? No, actually. Saying something about somebody that is not true is not defamation. Defamation is saying something. That's why defamation cases don't land. Listen, you guys, a lot of people out there throw this out there like, how dare you?
Well, you have to know your line.
I'm going to sue. Hang on. I'm going to sue you for defamation. That's not how it works. Okay. Defamation is very hard to prove, and over 90% of them don't land. Now, defamation is saying something that is untrue about somebody with the intent to harm them with that untrue statement. You have to prove that you had intent to harm them using untrue statements, not that you have a wrong opinion, not that you're saying something that is incorrect about somebody, but that what you're saying has the intention of harming them. And that intent is very hard to prove. But a lot of people don't understand that. They get super mad, and then because some kind of situation happened, they call up an attorney, and an attorney's like, sure, I'll take your money, no problem. I'm $500 an hour, and we'll get your defamation suit filed for you. And then that attorney a lot of times has no buy-in, except they're going to take your $500 per hour and say, if we win, I get 10%, 15%, whatever. So there's only up and up for that attorney. And who knows how many of them sit there and like, okay, slow down. Before you pay me $1, I need you to understand that it is 9 out of 10 times, over 9 out of 10 times, you are not going to win this defamation suit. And over 7 out of 10 times, it doesn't even go to court. It gets thrown out.
Right.
By the judge who says, you have nothing here.
Right.
So,
yeah, it's really hard to win those for sure. But,
because opinions aren't wrong, even though we can be wrong. That's what's so important with the difference between subjectivity and objectivity is subjective opinions. They can't be proven true or false. Nobody's opinion can. The only way that you can prove it true or false is a repetitive science experiment, objectively.
So, yeah, I mean, I think that's important. I thought the way I always heard it said is they have to be like intentionally lying, like, and you have to be able to prove they know they're lying. They're saying false things about you and they know that it's not true.
It's not. It has to be
with intent.
To cause harm. Okay. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Which that makes it doubly hard to prove that they know they're lying and they're trying to harm you. Anyway, where was I at?
I talking about Sebastian Rogers. I don't know. You were talking about Seth and
oh yeah, the PI. So anyway, the PI started saying some things like, okay, so after that whole part about her saying he was hard to deal with and everything, she's been communicating with him, and she lists some things that she now knows. And it sounds like she's kind of operating I mean, it's not that clear, but I get the vibe that they're operating under the assumption that Sebastian did leave of his own free will. and that there could have been things leading up to this. Now, I do think she's leaving that door open for it to be something else, but I do get that vibe. She's operating under the same assumption as the police, that he left of his own free will. So she says this case goes back to December. When, and that's, I don't know why she's saying that, other than the fact she claims Chris Proudfoot's daughter Faith was visiting at that time, and that Sebastian was staying with Seth at that time because he wasn't allowed to be there while Faith was there, is what I'm assuming.
Okay.
Which it goes back to this whole thing where Seth was saying,
so they could be interconnected. Something going on.
Chris told Seth's mom that Sebastian was a predator, a child predator.
Has anybody seen law enforcement out there still searching? Do we know? Have we seen law enforcement? Because the one thing I'm wondering is what you brought up in the past. I think, you know, a few days ago that we talked about
so
that.
Not really.
What would it look like if the legal guardian parent put a child in a camp in another country, like the example I gave you? Remember that example about the friend I had in high school? His parents sent him to an American, like, militant style camp that's in Mexico. Well, if the legal guardian parent did that and sent a child to Mexico, what are they legally forced to say? Do they legally have to come out in the public and say, hey, public, this is what's going on? Or can they just say nothing and it would be a similar setup like what we're seeing here? Do they come out and say something to the cops? You know? I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know either, but
come on, guys, you got to be nice. Thank you for that objective input. But you know what's funny is I would say 80% of the time people yell at me for interrupting you, and I interrupt all the time. I know I do. It's part of my ADHD. I can't help it if I don't. Like, I've tried explaining before that my mouth is connected with my brain. I don't think then talk. I'm thinking and talking, you know? But no, I think we are a good fit like this. I think that we come up with really good topics from really good different perspectives. And most of the time you're bringing it to a more realistic center point of view, whereas my brain tends to go and it goes fast. And it doesn't always land in a very objective. Well, I think I'm pretty good at staying objective to the evidence, but my theories are usually pretty far off. So, no, I don't think it was meant to be hateful. I don't think so. I'm just giving you an honest response.
It was meant to be hateful, but that's okay. It doesn't bother me. Anyway, so I don't remember where I left off because this keeps getting derailed.
See,
but
I'm overly optimistic.
Yeah, I'm not.
I don't take anything as trying to be. I just don't like letting stuff like that. I don't know.
It doesn't get to me. I just know that it was meant to be what it was. Like, you don't have to claim it's not.
James giving another one here. Great explanation, Brendan. Thank you. And I'm glad that answered it. And I hope I answered it thoroughly enough to make sense, and coming through and saying, hi, Malia.
Hello, James. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you've been in here supporting us big time. So thank you. And we are super happy to have someone here that enjoys the show and is able to support in that manner. So thank you for hanging out with us here. I got to use the restroom real quick.
Okay.
Oh, you guys, Malia's way better in research. For sure.
I do too much research.
You do. You do.
He's like, you need to cut that in half. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. I'm not a research type, you guys. I feel like that's why it's a great show, because we have different perspectives. Again, wouldn't it be boring if we had an echo chamber, like we literally both thought the same way? I can't think of a more boring show. You know what's interesting is when people don't agree. You know what's interesting is when things are combative for an argumentative nature. So debating.
Jerry Springer was like one of the most popular shows ever.
Exactly. So let's talk about it.
Should we become? We got the brick wall. We could totally go Jerry Springer. Just kidding.
I'm trying to think. So a Riot Springer.
Yep. There you go. Yeah, I think the interruptions, like I don't know if it really bothers people that much, but both of us forget our points. You know what I mean? Like when he talks for a really long time, so sometimes I need to interrupt or else I'm just not going to have anything to say by the time he's done. So, So, moving on with Seth Rogers and his PI. Gosh, is her name Heather? I'm going to have to look it up here in a second when Brennan's back to talk, so we're not just sitting here in dead air. But she mentioned that supposedly, which I do believe that I've heard Chris, I think I've heard this somewhere before, though I can't pinpoint where it was, where Chris Proudfoot said, or the PI said, and I think Chris has said it before, but I'm not 100% sure, don't quote me on that Faith had come and stayed, and that it could have been Seth actually, and Sebastian was staying with Seth. So moving on from that, she then goes on to say there was talk of Chris possibly leaving Katie. And I know this has been talked about before too. And I believe, again, it was by Seth. He has mentioned things. He has done so many podcasts and interviews that it's hard to even remember which ones he has said things in. But I do recall there being something talked about that in the past. So she said she just found out about that recently, and that she thinks these things, and that things weren't good with Sebastian, basically, is what she's saying. Things were not good. There was trouble in paradise, is, I quote, what she said on the show. So it sounds like she's kind of coming at this like, there was a lot of things wrong. There was a lot of things wrong. And there's a lot of things she believes that contributed up into him leaving.
There were a lot of things contributed.
And Chris was
him leaving
in that custody battle for Faith too. That's another one that she mentioned, which we've already been talking about this, the whole Nina thing, the custody battle. Now, knowing that Faith was visiting in December and that Sebastian had to stay with Seth, that's really interesting to me, because one thing that Seth has repeatedly said is it does sound like there's some indicators of these things going on, that there was trouble, and it's almost like he didn't pick up on any of it until after. Like originally when he said Sebastian didn't want to go to his mom's house, okay, to Katie and Chris's house, he said that he just didn't want to go. And Seth was like, he's a kid. So he was just like, he pushed him to go.
I mean, look.
And I understand that. That
sounds like me. That's something I would do, where, because I'm so optimistic, a lot of times I write things off as like, that's just that's just human nature. Of course you don't want to go. You know what I mean? Without looking into situations deeper. So kids, again, I'm not trying to justify anything for him. I can just see myself doing something like that. And I have had those situations before where I've done that. And I'm like, oh man, I'm kicking myself in the butt now, because I should have paid attention,
Yeah. So, but I think, I do think Sebastian was really uncomfortable. I don't know. It's really hard to know what's true in any of it. But I do feel like there's some underlining facts that we're hearing from every party involved, that yes, Sebastian did have an SA trauma. Yes, there was some kind of big deal between Seth and what?
That would be hilarious if we had a mute mic button for each other. That would be so funny. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Anyway, gosh, I lost my train of thought.
It's just
underlying
James
facts.
is on it tonight. That's
Underlying
funny.
facts. So that yes, Sebastian had his SA trauma. Yes, there was some kind of deal because there's literally court documents of Katie accusing Seth of violence. And now there's this thing with Faith. We're hearing from multiple different parties. There's something there where Chris did not want Sebastian around Faith. Or else why would they send Sebastian to go stay with Seth the whole time Faith was there for the holiday? And also this thing, I mean,
we have wondered that
every
for
party,
a while.
Like those are multiple things. Those are multiple things we're hearing from every direction. Like, what is this SA trauma from back then have to do with now? And does it like, because it seems important. It seems really important.
I mean, I think it is important.
Well,
it's important in a lot of different.
Of course, it's important, but if he had gotten help and they were working with him this entire time, would it be as important at this age?
Yes. So I meant it is important in regards to this investigation, not it is important because all trauma is important. I wasn't trying to suggest that. Do I think that looking into historical events could help connect dots? And I just put a poll out, you guys, and I should have done a more thorough intro, but for everybody on, so we have more viewers on our other platforms than we do on YouTube, but YouTube is the hustling, bustling chat. So for anybody out there watching, you can come to YouTube and come join in the chat and the Q&As and the polls and everything like that. You just go to youtube.com and search Thought Riot Podcast. You can honestly go to Google and search Thought Riot Podcast and all our stuff pulls up. You can even search Thought Riot and all our stuff pulls up. I think there's a band out there from like a million years ago. But anyways, you still find us regardless how you search. But so historical past evidence, right? So we know that statistically, when a child goes missing or a child is hurt, that it is most of the time a family member, right?
Or somebody close to them, yes.
Well, it's most of the time a family member. When you include that, yeah, you're increasing that even more. But if you're taking literally the highest statistic, it is a family member by far, over half of the time. It is a blood family member that does the harming or the missing or whatever. So those statistics are already working against them, right? So meaning that the law enforcement should be looking into the family primarily, and I mean deep, every single aspect, every single skeleton in their closet. They need to look into if there was any issues, is if there was frustrations between the birth father, the birth mother, the stepfather, or anybody in between. They need to look at how things were handled in the past. Like, all of that is important, and law enforcement should be looking into it. And I think the reason that people are so focused on this evidence is because we haven't seen law enforcement look into it. And Tennessee happens to be a state that isn't very transparent when it comes to their investigation. So people are sitting here like, what the heck, you know, is Sebastian Rogers being forgotten about? And they're starting to dig into this themselves. But yeah, I think it's very important. I think it all needs to be dug into, and I think law enforcement needs to connect those dots, because there could be some kind of hidden motive there.
It could
that could break everything, okay? And it could break everything in a way that you could bring someone in and interrogate them, whatever. And you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of different options, and we are pro law enforcement. Like, I back law enforcement, but I'm also very harsh against law enforcement that's conducting themselves in a fraudulent manner. But that's because I'm pro law enforcement. The good cops deserve to be recognized. The bad cops deserve to have their badge stripped off of them, because the good cops deserve to be recognized. But so when you're looking at this case, we just don't know where they're at. We have no idea.
Right.
And it sucks.
Yeah. I agree. It does suck. There's so little answers. It's really, really sad. And I saw some people telling me it's Heather Cohen. Thank you very much. Because I couldn't remember her name for the life of me. And yes, Brendan's ADD, yes, he has to get all of his thoughts out. all of them, or else he will lose track. And for me, he talks so long that when he talks a really long time, I will have forgotten everything I wanted to say and will have nothing to say. And I said that earlier, and a bunch of people were like, yeah, me too. Like a bunch of people feel similarly as us. So
yeah,
we can have ADD and be hosts.
Yeah, and the thing is too, you guys, I've been pretty transparent about this, but I don't use medication to control my ADHD, and ADHD in adults is actually very rare. Most people grow out of it from the time their frontal lobe fully forms and develops, because a lot of times it has to do with a lack of oxygen or a decreased amount of oxygen in the brain. Mine did not go away. Mine actually got worse as I became an adult. Worse than when it was as a kid. So I've had to learn how to manage and control it and you know, things in my own way. And part of that is why you see me drinking, you know, a Celsius right before I come up here, because it helps regulate my ADHD to where I can sit here in one seat and keep a linear thought. Otherwise I cannot. And you can hear it in how I talk sometimes, the times that I'm including a lot more ums or breaks in my rants or what I'm talking about. That's because, you know, it either caffeine is wearing off, or, you know, I'm just having a hard time with ADHD today. So we just appreciate that you guys are understanding with that, and that a lot of you can relate, you know.
I think most of the population is ADD at this point, so I'm sure a lot of you can understand, and we're thankful for that. So this just in, Speedy Bird just said in the comments that there is a video that's being looked into as we speak. And someone said there's a video of Katie handing Sebastian over to Chris's parents by the school at 5:58 a.m. on the 26th. And it's literally being looked into
say that
right
one more
now.
time. So
that there's a video of Katie handing Sebastian over to Chris's parents in a parking lot at 5:58 a.m. on the 26th, and it's being checked into as we speak.
Really?
And she said before that she thought in the dispatch audio,
we just now finding out about this?
Right. It makes me wonder that too. But it's being looked into, Speedy Bird said, which good. Katie was out searching at 6:45 a.m. Speedy Bird thinks that she moved him then.
Okay, that's interesting, because look, and this is not confirmed, you guys.
No.
And so normally our sources, where the motto is we will talk about everything as long as it fits into the rules and regulations of every platform that we're on, right? Because some people have complained recently because I have kicked people or had to delete comments. But look, we will talk about everything. That is it from an ideological sense, that every theory, nothing's off limits, but it needs to fit in the rules and regs of the platform, right? So if it's attacking someone that doesn't fit that bill, we don't want to be a part of any bullying, negativity, or anything like that. But with this, we don't have anything to officiate it, but that's really interesting, and I want to dig more into that, because
so Speedy Bird said a guy called Ken Davis is looking into it.
Okay. Interesting.
I'll have to look it up.
Yeah, save it.
Yeah, I'll have to look it up, because I've never heard of that. I saw somebody else say it's been mentioned for a little bit, and that there's no confirmation of anything. Who knows? It seems like that would be something really obvious that should have been checked in the beginning. But again, just like we talked about earlier, there's blind spots in investigations. They miss things. Like, clearly, since there hasn't been any leads so far, they're missing something.
Look, I agree.
And they're missing something major. The fact that there's been zero video evidence of anything this entire time is bizarre. It's super bizarre. It almost makes you feel like somebody knew where all the cameras were in the neighborhood and how to avoid them. Like, maybe, I don't know, somebody who installs video cameras.
Yeah,
And
that's subjective.
It's very
but yes.
subjective,
Yes,
but
I get
I'm
where
just
you're coming
saying
from.
it's weird. So this whole time I have been hoping they were looking into
Yeah,
the parents, because I feel like they're, even though it's the most obvious, it's like nobody also wants to just blame parents unwarranted.
yeah, and it's not the most obvious. Look, that is what makes police work great, is when you add a scientific element to the direction of your focus, right? And I think that's where a lot of law enforcement have really lost it over the last decade because of the war on drugs, right? And the war on drugs has promoted the type of behavior in law enforcement that is the ultimate Chad, like I said. And if you guys, you know, depending on our demographics who watch our show, a Chad is like the most manliest man of all men, like six-pack, no shirt, and wearing gladiator armor. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just giving an overly ridiculous example.
Like a jock.
Yes.
Yeah.
But so the and certain behavioral types are associated with what you would call a Chad, right? So law enforcement in the war on drugs has been essentially co-signed the agreement to act as ultimate Chads and use everything as brute force and force confessions, force searches, forcefully ignore rights and everything in between, because we had this war on drugs and the government, state and fed, we're turning the other, we're looking the other way, right? And letting them do whatever they want. However, coming out of that now, that behavior is not okay. And that behavior is, it leads directly into a separation of law enforcement and society, the rest of the people in it. Because again, law enforcement is protect and serve. If you're not protecting and serving, then you literally aren't doing your job. All you're doing is going out there and being a militarized police force, driving your own opinions and motive, you know? So yeah, when I'm looking at this case, right, and we see law enforcement acting in this manner, are they taking the time to say, halt, let's not jump to conclusions and chat our way through trying to find you know, the one random man that could have driven across the country and just happened to come across Sebastian Rogers? Like, look, go with the statistics, okay, and mark those off first. And I always use the example of the doctor, where when something's wrong and you go to a doctor, your doctor is not going to say, okay, let's start with the most unlikely thing first. Let's start with the lowest percentage of likelihood and work up to the highest percentage of likelihood. No, you work the top down, the highest percentage of likelihood, meaning you focus on the parents and family and anybody that had direct connections to them, and you rip their lives apart, not figuratively, I mean in an investigative nature, right? And you dig into every little skeleton, see what's going on, what kind of relationships they had between each other, why they had those relationships, what they were doing. Can they confirm every single thing that they're doing throughout the whole day? Can I find video footage for the whole last 48, 72 hours that shows some kind of difference in behavior on how a parent is treating a child, whatever that goes with it? You know what I mean? And I wonder if law enforcement are missing those things because of the expectation of the war on drugs for the last decade.
Considering the way Sebastian Rogers disappeared, it does seem more inner circle than outer circle. Like, there's no indication of breaking in. Like, there's no break-in. There's no his shoes are still there, which, I mean, I guess if he was abducted, his shoes could still be there. But there's no evidence of a struggle that we've heard of. There's no evidence of breaking in. There's no evidence of anything. Look, if my kid went missing from their bedroom in the middle of the night and I had no idea till I woke up and went to go wake them up, and it was this whole situation that happened with Sebastian Rogers, and the cops came and wouldn't fingerprint and wouldn't do any forensic testing,
yeah,
I would be losing my mind until they did it.
I know.
I would have
Trust me, I
fingerprinted
know.
myself. I would have literally went and got a kit and started
Agreed.
doing it myself.
I agree 100%.
So it's
I really
confusing
do.
to me how Chris, who is ex-military, and Katie, who's ex-military, and installs security cameras, and Chris, who has a good relationship apparently with members of the sheriff's department there locally, why they didn't have the pull or the thought to demand that they forensically test the bedroom and the home. Because they claim they asked about that and that the cops are like, oh, we don't need to do that. We don't need to do that. Dude, BS. I would have been like, no, you're doing it.
Yeah.
My child is missing. Clear us. See, look at whatever you want to see, but start forensically testing right now.
Yeah, from the window to the wall.
So I don't understand why that wasn't done. Because it sounds like it wasn't. From all that we've heard so far, they only had dogs. They only had dogs and did not forensically test the home. I hope to God Seth is wrong about that.
I agree with you. I hope he's wrong about that too. However,
because that's not
I
good.
think there would have been video, images, and people kind of following that story and search if that really did happen. You know what I mean? And remember that
that's just something else, man.
So one of the downsides of law enforcement is that certain crimes warrant certain investigations. So when you have a child that is considered a runaway, a 15-year-old that is considered a runaway, not an abduction, not a kidnapping, not anything like that, I don't know if they're given the approval and if they're given the green light to go in there and use those expensive tests. Now, does that feel wrong and does that suck? Absolutely. But I also understand that there has to be some kind of management in this so that not every single potential crime scene is getting all this additional testing that's taking millions and millions of dollars and actually harming the serving and protecting of the society.
Yeah, but once you're over 24 hours in, at that point, go back and do it.
Yeah,
because most children, if they are going to be found, are found in the first 24 hours.
Yeah.
Nearby.
Yeah.
And he wasn't.
So far, we have like 50 votes or something. Do you believe Sebastian Rogers' case will be solved by looking into past events? And 72% say yes. If you want to place your votes, I think 40 people is probably who our main chatters are. We have so many people who watch the show that don't engage in the chat, but leave a lot of comments and stuff. And just want to let you know in case you do want to vote. So
somebody Liz just commented, Heather Cohen, which is the PI in this case for Seth at the moment, said that they did thermal testing to the home to see if he might be in the walls and the ceiling. And I'm really glad that they did that.
So, and that's
because
good if
that
they
was
did.
the PI is claiming it, so I have no reason to doubt that. But that is great.
Everyone.
That is great because I was questioning that for a while now. Is it possible he squeezed into some area? Because I think that is a scenario that could happen, that, you know, there was a possibility for. So I'm glad that they checked that.
Yeah, I doubt everyone, though. I don't care if you're a PI. I don't care if you're a police officer. I don't care if you're the president of the United States. I'm going to doubt you until I can see it for myself, you know?
Yeah. You know what's really weird to me, though?
And I don't mean that in an offensive way either. I hope people treat us the same way. I hope people doubt what we say.
As long as it's all equal.
Mm-hmm.
So one last thing on this is one thing that I noticed and I had been noticing this for a while. But in that interview on the Vargas report with Seth and his PI, there was a part where he mentioned him messaging Chris to like figure things out. And what's really weird to me is literally since the beginning of this case till literally now, like today, Seth and Chris have always said they message each other, that Katie is not a part of the equation. when it comes to communication.
I mean, sure, I would
Seth
have a hard time talking
only
to a
talks to
woman
Chris.
that tried to claim I was abusive when I wasn't. Absolutely, I would. I would want to keep my distance if I'm being honest.
So do you think that's by
If that is real? I'm not saying that's what happened, you guys. That's just one of the stories, just to clarify that you know, she, the birth mother of Sebastian Rogers, filed claims with CPS and law enforcement that the Sebastian's father was beating her and him. Those claims could never be substantiated, and they were found as no evidence for it. I can't say it didn't happen because the only people who would know is the people that are there. But they said there was no evidence of it that couldn't be found. So if I'm in that situation and I'm being blamed in a situation like that, then I would have a very hard time communicating with that person. I said woman, but anybody, right? I would have a very hard time communicating with anybody that is trying to use manipulative tactics to try and impact my life negatively, especially if I had a child and they were trying to, you know, sabotage my relationship with my child.
Dude, totally. I get what you're saying. I guess I didn't think about it from that perspective, but that's eye-opening for me a little bit because I didn't think of it in that way. Yeah, it could be by Seth's own choice, I guess, where he doesn't want to talk to Katie because there's bad blood because she accused him of things like that. The thing is when you have a child together, a lot of people, I don't know. I don't want to generalize. So I think it's best that you just put your differences aside.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you're not in that relationship anymore and you're not forced to
but there's a certain level of trust to even put things aside to be able to just have conversation. Like a lot of people don't realize there's a certain level of trust in every relationship, even friends. Even if you were in a relationship and you weren't, and you guys have a kid and you need to co-parent and you guys got to set up times to, you know, drop the child off or pick the child up, like even communicating like that, there is a certain element and level of trust there that it would be hard to have in a situation like that. Because look, I would be worried as a guy if I'm in this situation, right? And I was accused by a woman that I was with of abuse or whatever, and I didn't do that. I would be so nervous every single time I went to go drop off my child or pick up my child from her if she was there. Every time, because anytime we're in the same place at the same time, I'm going to be thinking, I need to have like a microphone recording or a camera on, because who knows when she's going to get angry or frustrated and claim on this day, you know, 5 years ago or whatever, I threatened her or whatever. You know what I mean? Like it could be anything.
Right. You don't even want to put yourself in that position because a lot of times they'll believe. There's a lot of situations where they'll just believe her. Unfortunately,
because of social bias.
Because of social bias, there's a lot of situations where they could just believe her, and then you're screwed, and you didn't even do anything wrong. So yeah, I definitely see what you're saying. And thank you, Translucent, for the super chat. It says, "Good luck with the move, Malia. Buy B a drink. Buy B a drink." Yes,
I don't really drink. I will. But I not very often because of my diabetes. What?
Your diabetes?
Yeah, I have diabetes. So when I drink alcohol, like within 20 minutes, it throws off my levels.
Yeah. I think insulin resistance is something that people don't recognize unless they have diabetes, but like everyone has issues with it in America, at least for the most part. Like the diets in America are so bad. I think everyone has issues with it.
Yeah.
For the most part, for real. I'm not even playing, but that's a whole nother topic. Okay. So I just wanted to mention that because I found it interesting. Like, is that an indicator of anything? The fact that Katie and Seth cannot communicate with each other.
Crazy.
They can't. It's literally only Chris and Seth talking together. And Chris has this whole time seemed like the more nefarious one, the more controlling. Like, is it a controlling thing where Chris is like, Katie, I don't want you talking to your ex ever. I'm only allowed to talk to him. Is it
that could be it too?
Because
That's
could
a
be
great
it too.
example. Yeah, it could be. You know what? Because of how we got together, you know, maybe, and I'm totally making this up, you guys. Be very clear with that. What if their relationship started before Seth's and hers ended? So there's always a little bit of distrust there. So it's, look, we didn't start very good, so I would rather handle this in this way. I think it's very, 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 very possible for sure. So do you have any other updates on this?
No, just that the vigil was tonight, and it was beautiful.
Let's see if we can pull up a picture of it.
Because... yeah, light the path vigil. Yeah, you should definitely pull up a picture of it. It was really beautiful. The commissioner, I believe, on Facebook was he was live streaming it.
Do you know if it's playing somewhere, or
look on Facebook? That is the only place I saw pictures and live streams of it was on Facebook.
Oh, I'm such a failure at Facebook, though.
The vigil was beautiful. Oh, there's a video of it.
Okay. That's not, I want to see it when it's dark, though.
Yeah, just does it. Yeah, there we go.
Okay. So let me turn off the sound. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Here we go.
Make it. Yeah.
Right. Yes. Just like that. Okay. Yes. Yeah, that's awesome.
Fast forward a little. There's a part where it should get to where like Seth is.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's really sad. You know, when a child's missing, it's one of those bittersweet things where like they did a really good job with his favorite color being green. That's why you're seeing all these green lights, and you know, it's really nicely set up across the bridge like this, but should we even be having this? You know what I mean? It's just,
it's super sad, man.
Yeah.
I know, if I were in a situation like this, I would literally be hoping to see the kid just walk up. You know what I mean? Like anywhere you go, I'm sure Seth is going anywhere he goes. He just hopes he's gonna just see him. You know, is he around that corner? Is he in that abandoned house?
Yeah, can you imagine living like that the rest of your life?
Yeah. Well, that's been his life for 2 months. You can see why he's losing his mind.
We thank you, Lord God, for the police department, Lord God. Yeah. God, we ask for wisdom to them. Yeah. God, we ask for compassion.
It is bittersweet,
yeah. God, we ask that you give them ears to hear, Lord God, what the Spirit is saying to them, oh God, because your Holy Spirit is a God.
That's really nice.
It is nice. I'm glad he has a lot of support.
I hope everyone treats them all fair, right?
Yep.
And I just want to say, look, we've said this a million times. Because of the true crime community right now, the birth mother and stepfather tend to take the most heat. Now, statistically, they are the most likely to be suspect. So it makes sense from a mathematical equation, historical equation, using evidence to drive your opinion. But and all of them should be respected.
I agree. And no, I don't think Katie and Chris were there, at least not from what I saw in any of the video footage, and nobody has said they were there, but I don't know that for 100% sure. Thank you guys for putting green in the chat.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. And yeah, again, any topic can be talked about in a respectful manner.
Yeah.
In a respectful manner. So we'll let the rest of this video play out here. Got like another minute just for positive vibe. What? Positive vibes, and in hope that Sebastian Rogers is found.
Yeah.
really horrible situation, and
It truly is.
60 days. 60 days to build a skate.
61.
I wish I could
think.
build a skate ramp in my new studio, you guys. That would be awesome to have a half pipe in
What,
the
talk about true
studio.
crime while you're skating?
No, just like on bathroom breaks and stuff, you know.
He'll just be over there on the ramp while I'm sitting here waiting for him? No. It's a terrible idea.
Yeah. There we go. Got to get the skateboard into use somehow, you know.
Right. Was that the
if,
end?
If you guys didn't know,
Oh, that was the end.
This says Brendan right here and Malia, and then that's us on there, like on the skateboard.
No, I don't know who that is.
No, that's us on there. If you couldn't tell,
I couldn't tell.
oh, okay.
And I told you not to put the live streaming days and times on there, but he didn't
Why?
listen to me. Because it changes.
There's nothing I could have done to change that. I didn't order it. Okay.
I thought you did.
No, we just built it.
All right, that was the end.
Okay, yes, that was the end. Okay. Now I have a touchy topic that I do want to bring up. So just viewers beware. It has to do with kids. Unfortunately, because it got so blown up, and I think there's some really interesting. Well, I don't know about interesting. I guess this could come off a little bit aggressive.
Thank you, Kane, for putting green in the chat.
Yes.
We pulled at his heartstrings.
Have you seen this video, including this psychopath?
I did earlier because you sent it to me, and
Okay.
I didn't realize you were going to bring this up tonight.
Oh my gosh.
So not ready for this.
So many people are looking for this guy. And this video is disgusting and horrible. And I am not going to show this video. I do not think that anyone should watch this video. And I don't want to show this kid's face right here. So what are we talking about that hit
Why
the
did
internet?
you scroll down to show his face and say I don't want to show his face?
What do you mean? His face is blurred on purpose. You cannot see anything. You can't even tell if that's a boy or a girl.
Okay.
So there's a video under who's probably what's her face? Coffin Daffer, okay? And so many people caught on to this video and were sharing it and trying to find out this guy. So they were at some live showing, and
some kind of live event where they're being recorded by a camera. And yes, this picture looks like AI. It's AI enhanced
to find him. It's a searching tool that we use. So we can take a picture and it AI enhances the face and then reconstructs the facial structure and then connects it with all pictures and search engines. But anyway,
this video has been all over the internet today. It's horrible.
And this guy right here in the glasses leans over as they are videoing the stage, and it shows them in the background, and this guy starts assaulting this kid. Like, I have a hard time even explaining it.
He leans his head over and he puts his mouth on the kid's ear in a very suggestive, like you would do with a partner type way.
Yes.
And the kid looks very uncomfortable and is like looking around.
He
is absolutely underage. And it's really uncomfortable.
Disturbing.
It's disturbing to watch.
It's really disturbing. And what my big concern is number one, should this guy be found? Absolutely. This guy needs to be put behind bars. This guy needs to have charges. This guy needs to be thrown out there for the world to see. I believe that, you know, people that do things like this are a security risk for our society. Okay. And if you're going to act like that and take advantage of other people, then, you know, your arrest picture should be out there for the rest of society to see. Now, what I don't agree with, though, with this video being pushed out there like that, is this child is a victim. And this child is having a video out there exposed for the whole world. So in a situation like that, you're harming the victim in this situation.
Yeah.
How long has this been going on? If this crazy guy is comfortable doing something like this in a sexual nature in public, where there's live TV cameras or recording cameras, what has been going on behind closed doors? It's scary. It's terrifying. And part of the reason I even want to talk about this is to get this guy's face out there. People need to see this and people need to know. And I believe that he should be found and it should be posted what ends up happening. But the one thing I just want to caution everyone about is please don't share the video that includes the kid's face. Maybe I can create a video without the kid's face. You think we could?
Blur his face or something.
Yeah. And he tries to write it off. So once the child like alerts with nonverbal body language, like, oh, camera, hi, he tries to play it off. And I wish I could show you guys the picture, but I can't. The kid's face is blurred here, you guys. There's a mega filter over it. So like
you can't tell who he is.
Tell. Nobody can tell. This video is blurred. It is not showing his face, the child's face at all. Not even a little bit. You couldn't even tell if this child was male or female with how heavy of a blur is put on this. And I'm glad. And I am very glad.
So I saw ZJ saying this isn't a new video.
Maybe it's not a new video.
Maybe it just now went viral or something.
But right now, I'm concerned about these images being posted to the public.
Yeah.
So I don't believe it's okay to post a video like that of a crime where we're continuing to harm the victim. That's my concern. Why I don't want to add to the victim's shame, recovery, trauma, anything like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I agree. It's rough. Watching it, it's, I'm sure, really embarrassing for this child. I mean, I can't imagine being in that situation, you know, where my face is on blast with that kind of trauma. Like, the whole world knows about it basically now. This is a viral video.
Yeah, it's just additional trauma for
it is
the
absolutely
child, and it's not okay. It's not okay.
So it's South Yorkshire. Police confirmed they're reviewing footage after viral video emerges of a man bizarrely biting young boy's ear.
Yeah, not bizarrely. It's a very specific type of nature.
It is
of biting, and it is. Oh gosh.
So is this in the UK?
Yeah.
Then?
Where'd you find that so I can share that? I would like just save it or whatever, and I'll pull it up.
Okay, yeah, I'll bookmark it there.
Okay, so hang on, you guys. Here, hopefully this is helpful here. Wait, why is this not finding bookmark? Okay, because of that. All right, so what'd you bookmark it under?
Just all bookmarks. It should, yeah.
Okay. Right here?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay, here we go, you guys. So All right, so South Yorkshire police confirm they are reviewing footage after a viral video emerges of a man bizarrely biting a young boy's ear. Updated at 8:22 a.m. on the 26th of April of 2024. Viewers noticed the strange moment in the background of Thursday's coverage. One posted a clip of it on social media, and it now has over 10 million views. It is unknown if they are related, and South Yorkshire police are investigating. Good. This guy needs to be found, and this needs to be investigated. This isn't okay. It's
No.
not okay to... I wish they didn't show the victim's face in that way, man. Unfortunately, with the way that it happened, I don't think there was any way for the victim's face not to be put out there on blast.
Well, I think you
but
could
for
put
everyone,
one of those
I agree.
censored things on it.
Absolutely. But I just want to let everyone know, please just be conscious of that. When you guys go on Twitter and look for it, right? Be very conscious of that, and share that post so they can get to it.
Okay.
Yeah, not the video. I don't want to post that video without a filter
Okay.
on the youngsters.
Somebody
face.
just commented that it is new. It's from the snooker championship that started on 420.
Okay. Well, this guy needs to be found, and I think this is one of the topics where I do feel like the true crime community in general could do better. And the person that posted this video initially, I personally, with me being my overly optimistic self, don't believe that they posted it with ill intentions. Right? Good.
Look, they
Good.
blurred both of their faces though. Why didn't they just blur the boys?
I don't know, but I would think that somebody didn't post this with ill intentions. However, here, where is that? Can you send me that?
Yes,
Send me that real quick so we
Okay.
can open that.
Yeah.
But I bet they posted it trying to correct things or get something solved or fixed. But it's sometimes hard to realize like what you're doing, right? You're caught up in the wrong and you overlook the trauma of the victim in this situation.
Agreed.
So it's just try to not put that image out there, you guys. I know most of you are really good about that, and you've even called us out in certain situations where it is showing something. But as you can see, look,
the Daily Mail has
look at this.
several pictures actually with the faces blurred out too.
Ugh.
So I'll
and let me just describe this.
Oh wait,
to you,
no,
you
that's
guys.
the wrong one.
Victim,
Hold on.
The victim, it's not like you can tell something's wrong.
Oh yeah.
There is something wrong. This victim is uncomfortable.
Well, it makes me wonder, like, did he know him? What? Why, what is
mean,
happening? Why is this not giving
yeah.
me the actual link?
I would assume he knows him. I don't know, man.
What is happening here?
But anyways, you guys, I just wanted to highlight it, and being a victim, look, I've shared this a million times before, and I'll share it again. So, I am a victim of a crime similar to this. I was much younger, right? Much younger. I was 5 or 6 years old. A family member, female family member, okay, took advantage of me at 5 or 6 years old in that way. So stuff like this is really important to me to be able to highlight and use my experience openly, honestly, and be able to share my opinion of these situations. So, just looking at it, it's really hard, and it doesn't make a lot of sense as you're trying to get over trauma like that. And if we can do anything to try and reduce the discomfort and how hard it is to get over trauma like this, I just see it as doing what we can to be better to help people in general, right? Because the ultimate goal is evolution of humanity as a whole.
Right. I think that is great. And I think it's a great way to use the platform. So this Daily Mail article goes into a bit more detail. So this happened while Stephen Hendry, a 7-time world champion, was speaking during a break and play in BBC's coverage of the afternoon session when this happened. And this is at the World Championship at the Crucible in Sheffield.
Okay.
So obviously we know what happens. The man leans over and does that. So on Friday, South Yorkshire police released a statement which said, yesterday, Thursday, April 25th at 9:20 p.m., we received a call to inform us of a video circulating on social media of a man and a boy at the Crucible in Sheffield. We're aware of the footage and officers will be reviewing the content. A spokesperson for the World Snooker Tour said on Friday, we are aware of this incident and it is now a police matter.
Good.
The viral
Great.
video has 72,000 likes, 15,000 bookmarks, and 5,000 comments. Oh, it's way over that. It's in the millions
Yeah,
now.
it is in the millions.
Many people on Twitter have been talking about it a lot.
Yeah. And the guy
fan
looks uncomfortable. Like you can tell once they both realize there's cameras, the guy tries to play it off. And oh man, it's just awful, you guys. It's literally, I share everything. I am as transparent as can be. And when I saw this video, I saw it without the censor on it. I can't remember the last time I felt so uncomfortable. I just wish they had censors on, man. I was
they couldn't. I mean, this was being streamed live.
No,
this was on live BBC.
I get it.
BBC television,
but
so then
we can promote the issue with this video without
showing
the faces, like what we're doing now.
Well, I think the man's face should be shown, not
I agree.
Not the boys.
I agree.
His face needs to be shown so people are looking for him.
I agree with you.
But obviously the cops are looking into it. They're describing it like the boy was unfazed.
Oh, what? Get out of here. No way.
It says,
that kid was like,
it says, as he noticed he
comfortable.
could be seen on the live broadcast and then smiled and waved towards the camera as the man pulled back. The man then realizes he is being recorded and breaks out in a cheesy grin before wobbling his head back and forth.
I mean, yeah, that is what happened. But listen, you can't gauge a victim's emotions in that way.
So he must know this man. This
flawed.
Isn't random. He knows this guy. Like they know each other.
Probably. I would assume so, doing something like that.
Ugh.
It is just disgusting. And I just, being a victim myself of something like this, you guys, just try please to remember the victim still has to overcome this in their life.
Right.
Okay. They have to overcome this trauma. This man needs to be behind bars, but the child has to overcome this trauma. And by censoring the faces or talking about this with a censored image, that's us doing our part, right? Bringing awareness to the problem, not the victim.
This poor boy.
And it's hard. It's stuff like this is hard to get over, you guys. Like I just shared with you, when it happened to me, I did not even begin to heal until I was in my mid-20s, you know?
Yeah.
Because I had no memory of it. So
yeah. Well, I hope
nobody saw it. I see some people saying bystanders should have intervened. No one saw it.
No, it was just seen on TV by chance. The
cameraman is the only one who saw it.
The camera just panned over when that man that we see started talking, and behind him, that's when they didn't know they were even being filmed at that moment, and then they noticed after, like when it was happening. So, you know, it's. Everybody around, when you watch the video, nobody around was paying attention. Everybody's paying attention to what's going on in front of them, not this man and boy.
Yeah.
But I agree. If anybody sees something like that, you absolutely need to say something. But we know the bystander effect is real. It is very real. There's some really interesting studies that have been done on it.
Yeah, I agree.
So we have to, I think it's important to actively fight against that bystander effect and not just assuming other people around you are going to do something or say something. You have to be the one to do it. And I don't mean necessarily putting yourself in harm's way either. I mean calling 911. Okay, call 911. Don't get yourself killed.
Yeah. Yes. One thing that I do agree with predators is I personally feel like a child predator, there should be some kind of very easily accessible system that has a side picture and a frontal picture of them, and they are expected to be promoted on the news of their crimes, so people like parents know to watch out for them.
Yeah,
it's considered a public shaming, but in my opinion, that's one of the few cases I feel like, yes, public shame.
Yeah, that's why we have the
not physically harm, but public shame.
Yeah, we have the offender list
but the
for
offender
a reason.
List doesn't do that.
No, it doesn't. But what I'm saying is it needs to be public knowledge. Like it needs to be out there. Like this is this person and this is what he has done, because we know the reoffending rate is insane.
Oh yeah, it's
scary. If they've done it once, they're most likely going to do it again. So
it's scary.
It's important to know who they are.
There are I don't remember what state this is in, but there are certain like living places like mobile home parks or housing tracts that are child offender or predators that only live there, like a predator community. Is that beneficial? Or
I don't know.
That's like putting a whole bunch of drug addicts together, and then like when one person relapses, a lot tend to.
Have they actually offended? Like these are offenders.
These are arrests, confirmed offenders.
Okay.
And they all live in this track home community or a mobile home park community.
No, I don't think that's a positive thing.
I don't think so either.
No, I don't think that makes sense.
I watched that documentary and I was like, oh no. That
sounds like you just
terrifying.
Literally made a pedo ring.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Serious. Someone said, isn't it in Florida? I think. Oh, I know which one you're talking about. It's named something. But yes, I saw a video from a reporter guy that he does really good stuff. And he did cover that mobile home park. And I think it is in Florida. But
so Elliot asked you something. Did they show them on the news when you were a kid in Southern California? The ones that are registered?
Oh, gosh, I don't remember. I don't think so.
He wasn't a TV watcher from what he's said in the past.
I didn't ever watch TV. Never.
So Elliot also asked, which I don't know what this has to do with. He said, do you guys have an opinion on what Indiana, my home state, and many other states are doing with SB 17? Google Indiana SB 17 for a quick synopsis. I'd like your opinion. I didn't realize there was an entire community of offenders. I see several of you saying in Florida that there is like a predator park. That's
gosh, this is
interesting.
Going to be such a hot political topic, Elliot. I'm going to have to read up on this and then bring it back. So I'm going to save this.
Yeah, we can look into it for sure.
Yeah. I'll save it.
So it's going to be a very hot topic.
Yeah, and
very controversial.
Let me save this. I mean, I didn't look on Google. I looked on DuckDuckGo, but yeah, interesting. But yeah, we can absolutely change the subject. Okay, what are we getting into next? Idaho related
Well,
topics.
I did want to
Oh yeah,
say
bring it up.
that Andrea Burkhart did a video today. It came out today
Okay.
on the alibi and the cell data and GPS, and it
Mhm.
very much was reminiscent of what we've been saying. It's
Oh, great.
yeah, it sounds like she is in agreement with a lot of the things that we have been talking about. She sees things from a very similar perspective as we have. She's just so good at staying on track and explaining things. So I wanted to recommend that video and give her a shout out.
Here, pull it up real quick.
Okay.
I need to use the restroom again.
Okay,
Drink
I'll
too
pull
much
it up.
caffeine.
Her legal opinion also it's so while she's not like a cell expert like Brendan, her legal opinion is really helpful in breaking down information in these documents, and especially her being out of Idaho, it's really helpful. You know, she deals in appeals. I believe she's an appellate lawyer. That's incredibly helpful when looking at this case. So I really appreciate her insight a lot. I know that she's beloved by many in the community as well. So, hold on. There is her channel. Oh no, I'm on the wrong page. And right there, the Idaho 4 murders, Bryan Kohberger's alibi. That is the new video.
Whoa.
What?
Why is it so big?
I zoomed in so it could be seen.
This?
Oh, that? No, I accidentally did that.
Okay. But yeah, no. Is it a good video? I haven't watched it. One thing I was going to talk about to you guys is what?
Oh, Andrea lives in Washington? I thought she had lived in Idaho though for a while. I thought that's where she originates from, is Idaho. But maybe I was wrong.
One thing I meant to tell everyone too, and I should have brought it up yesterday, but so with our content, you guys, we've said from the beginning that anybody is allowed to watch our content. So content creators out there, we hold true to that 100%. I've never done a copyright strike ever. And some people were asking if, you know, we copyright struck a certain person. And the answer is a massive, huge no. There's actually a setting in YouTube that allows, that says people can watch footage or not. And anybody can watch our footage or react to it or anything like that. I've never done one copyright strike ever in the history of this channel, you guys.
Never.
Nope. Ever. And
you can see who copyright strikes you.
You can. Yep. Copyright strikes are not
so
private.
If anybody wants to claim we've copyright struck them, then tell them to prove it.
Because show it. Yeah.
Show it, because you can't, because we have not.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we would not. Yeah. Unless you're literally taking our footage, ripping it and re-uploading it with zero commentary, no nothing, and you're not doing anything with it. It's not even like clipped up. Just straight up re-uploading the whole stream, adding nothing to it, not changing it in any type of way, then maybe we would consider.
I don't know. I don't know if I would copyright strike. I don't know.
If someone made a whole fake channel just re-uploading our content and looking like us, impersonating us.
I guess impersonating,
then yeah,
that's just going really extreme.
It is very extreme.
People don't do that.
Oh, that's not true. People have done it. It depends on how big you are, but people do it.
Okay.
I've seen it.
I
with big creators.
Yeah. Well, interesting. But yeah, we don't, our content is a free use content, you guys.
Yep.
People can show it on their channel.
We made that decision literally day one.
Yep, day one. So you know, anybody can show it on there, and this is a commitment that you will not be copyright struck. So hold me to it.
But there is something really interesting that she makes a point in that video, the Andrea Burkhart video, where she says they have gotten his phone. Like, she explains it. And I wish I had a timestamp, but
Yeah,
I don't
we've
want
already
to take.
said they got his phone.
I don't want to take anything away from her video. I want you guys to go check it out if you haven't, because she deserves your views.
We've already said they got his phone, though. We've already confirmed that. It's on the Pennsylvania list of items.
Yes, but we were talking about the other night. Remember, I asked that question about the phone. Now I can't remember totally what my question was, but she kind of answered it, where she was saying that it is confirmed now, at least from what her assessment of this, that they have retrieved downloads from his phone, from his device.
Okay.
And that is how.
How does she know that?
Well, she explains it in the video, and like I said, I wish I had a timestamp just to play that one part.
It's okay. It's okay. I don't want to take anything from the video.
You watch it tonight or tomorrow, and then we can talk. We can reapproach it again tomorrow because you haven't seen it.
Yeah.
And I can't remember exactly the way she described it.
Okay.
So I just wanted to give her a shout out. But we can reapproach this again tomorrow with the whole phone thing.
Yeah,
but I thought that was
Andrea Burkhart. I always have.
Yes, always have. I thought that was interesting the way she talked about that, and it's just her interpretation of the legalese in the document is, I think, how she's coming to that conclusion. You know, a lot of search warrants, I think, could be sealed in this case still.
So it's the legal aspect of what we have been talking about.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Well, she goes into some of it too, though, like some of the cell phone technology and GPS, which I sent it to you earlier today. I wanted you to check it out so that we could talk about it tonight, but we can talk about it tomorrow. I think she did a phenomenal job. But I would like some of your input on it.
Okay. What? Yeah.
About the phone specifically, them having the phone and getting downloads from it.
Yeah.
I want to talk about that.
Okay. So, what is going on in Idaho?
Why? What is going on in Idaho?
It seems like we have another issue similar to what we've been seeing at the university.
What is that?
Attorney says accountability. Actually, I guess we'll start with the video. So hang on, you guys. We'll start with the video here.
I see everybody mentioning the article that Andrea wrote. I haven't read it yet. I'll have to read it. Thank you guys for mentioning it, because I didn't even know that she had a Substack. So thank you. Okay, so there's a video of this. His eye looks horrific. Did he lose his eye? It looks so bad.
A University of Idaho student says he was attacked by a group of other students, including some vandal football players. That student's family is now asking for answers. The Reed family says back in February, a group of 40 to 50 students showed up uninvited to their son Timmy's house off campus. Timmy had been planning on hosting a party that night, but when the group showed up, Timmy's dad says he asked them to leave. Then he says they punched him, knocking him unconscious. Again, this was back in February. Well, now Timmy's dad says the university is dragging their feet on the investigation. Nicole Hernandez reports tonight.
It's very devastating as a parent.
It's been 10 weeks since Nick Reed got the call about his son.
We found out the next morning, February 11th.
Found out their son, Timmy, woke up looking like this.
He'd asked them to leave, and 20 or 30 seconds in, he was cold cocked and knocked unconscious and broke his nose.
Nick was surprised by the whole situation.
He's just a nice kid, never been in a fight in his entire life.
The family's lawyer says the week before this fight, someone in Timmy's fraternity got into a scuffle with a Vandal football player. They say that could be why the group showed up that night for some sort of revenge.
Nothing that Timmy did incited those 40 or 50 football players or athletes that show up at his house. He had nothing to do with anything the week previous.
Since the university and police have been investigating.
I know the police investigation is ongoing, but we feel like the university could have done more.
The University of Idaho said today they are taking this seriously. They said, quote, anytime the safety of any students comes into question, we are deeply concerned and work to understand the facts and take action accordingly. The Moscow police also updated us today, saying they still have one more search warrant they need to serve in their investigation. In the meantime, the Reeds are waiting for more concrete answers.
You know, psychologically, it's been tough for us and him.
That was Nicole Hernandez reporting. Another part of this, Nick Reed was part of a scholarship fund that raises money for U of I students. That scholarship fund decided not to hold their annual fundraiser this year out of concern some of the money would benefit one of the attackers. Nick Reed says he was not part of that decision and actually resigned from his position with the organization.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Am I right? Isn't that insane?
That's disturbing. And you
I
guys,
agree.
that is like 4chan theory.
It is 4chan theory. Again, going back into this issue that we're seeing with fraternities and questions that we have with how this college is being handled. Look,
So
this is not the first issue. We just went over about a month ago the issue with the volleyball team
yeah.
and the fact that they drug their feet and did not want to do anything until the volleyball team went to the media. How shady is that? And then you have another one here. I almost guarantee you they went to the media because they saw the volleyball team do it. Almost guarantee you. This was in February. Dude,
Look, this
when
is
this happens, all 50 kids should have been put on a hold and to where, like, you know, their schooling is paused while an investigation happens, and then they come to a conclusion. Maximum amount of time is a couple weeks, dude.
This speaks to the culture that
Agreed.
in this community.
I don't want to put the whole community on blast. It speaks to the culture of this college that is being led.
I'm not putting the whole community on blast. I'm speaking specifically about the Greek life at the U of I.
Okay.
And
but when you say
yes, the U
community,
of
it
I.
sounds like Moscow.
I don't mean the whole community of
Okay.
Moscow. I mean the community within this university, within the fraternities. And the fact that 40 to 50 kids can show up to get revenge on one student. And I saw Kane in the chat saying they were armed with PVC pipes wearing ski masks.
I mean, I haven't heard that, but I don't know.
Okay, so we got to look that up. But if they
Yeah.
were, whoa.
Yeah. I don't know. One thing that I do know, though, is that there is a massive issue with the way that the university is being handled. And I go back to this question, okay? Why was the Idaho 4 investigation handled so poorly? Why were there massive delays in everything that we saw, from getting to the crime scene to taping off the crime scene to extending that crime scene to having lead investigators come to calling the other three the other acronymed law enforcement agencies? Everything was delayed. Okay, so I go back to, why was it delayed, and who made the decision to drag their heels before reaching out to these organizations? Why did it take so long for their lead investigator to get there? Why did it take so long for an investigator to get there? Why did it take so long for the other law enforcement agencies to be brought in? Why did it take so long for them to block off the entire street, cordon off the entire house and lot? Like, is it because they're all waiting for the green light from one man? the same man that required that he be in every single 2-a-day meetings with law enforcement while they were investigating the Idaho 4 crime. That man,
The man that needed daily briefings. Yes. See,
2-a-days.
Okay.
2-a-days.
Okay.
Not briefings. They were literally, he was in the investigation, not briefing him. That would be expected. He was in the investigation room, the war room, for planning and executing the investigation.
Where are you getting that?
It's open information. It's all over the place. We've already talked about it like
Yeah,
3 or
from
4
his
different
book.
times.
From
No,
his book.
no, it's talked about all over. It's no secret. Scott Green was in every single war room every single day, twice a day, in the investigation. You're the one who brought it up that McDonough said it.
No, I'm talking about the book. And yes, McDonough quoted the book where he claims
No,
he's
he's
at
talking about-
daily briefings.
No, okay. I don't want to go into this argument. We've already talked about this a million times.
Yeah, I just was asking because I don't know. I haven't heard. I don't
do,
know that.
And I can post the video. We've already proven it and covered it and talked in length about this multiple times. So I'm just a little surprised you forgot that we have covered this in this way. So Scott Green was in so there were 2 war rooms every day, one right in the morning and one in the evening. And Scott Green was a part of all of it. Okay. So he was heavily involved in the war room and investigation, making key decisions in the investigation. And that is a massive problem because where did information for his book come? Why is a university president in the investigation at all? At all? I don't know.
Well, what's interesting is that, of course, the MPD has a what is it called? Like a satellite at the university, right? Like they have a University of Idaho Police Department, basically. So there's some of the Moscow police officers who are basically contracted to the U of I, right?
Well, no. So they cover the U of I, but they are not U of I officers.
There are U of I officers.
No. They're Moscow police. And yes, they cover the U of I campus and they have a U of I police department. But when you look at the police department there, it's Moscow police.
Yeah. So
not university. They have all the privileges of being a city officer.
I understand that.
Not a university officer.
But they're dedicated. That police department within the U of I is dedicated to the U of I, even though they are still MPD.
I don't know.
Yeah, they worry about the college, or else there's no point in having them at the college. Like they cover the college.
I think there is a point. It could just be different positions and different home bases, because in universities they have bike cops and that's really common, and you're not going to bike from the Moscow police department to the university. It's much easier if you're on that unit that covers the surrounding areas of the university to probably just drive to that law enforcement
Well, my
office.
point is they have a dedicated police department at the university. So when things are going wrong like this, why is there such a dragging of heels when they have everything at their disposal to investigate it? And Scott Green shouldn't even really be involved in it other than being told this is going on at your campus.
I get where you're coming from. I just don't agree with how you're meaning that, because all these law enforcement officers are Moscow PD. And in my opinion, it doesn't matter if they're office is on campus or not. That means absolutely nothing. Law enforcement should have been involved in this right away. If the cops were called that night, the investigation should have started then. Bam, right away. What kind of violence made this happen to this victim, and why? And just in my opinion, that it doesn't matter if they have cops on campus or not.
I mean,
I
the
think
point-
that's just for the simplicity of having the whole city covered in one of the main.
The point is
population areas.
they're like basically in your pocket. Like,
But they aren't. That's why I'm saying that. They are not university cops. They are Moscow cops.
okay, but there's a reason there's such a delay in these investigations and he has so much pull.
That's so the fraudulence lands on Green,
Right.
not the cop. The cops are not in his pocket. They aren't owned cops. They're not supposed to be. And that's where the issue is. If they were university police officers, then yeah, clearly they are owned, university law enforcement officers, but they aren't. They're Moscow Police Department. So it doesn't make much sense why Scott Green is involved in 2 war rooms a day, every day during this investigation, hearing information that should be privileged only to law enforcement. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I don't know. It's really bizarre. This, like, the delay, obviously, with the volleyball coach, not doing anything about it. I mean, it was literally, when did we last talk about it? And he had just then been put on leave, and it had been going on for, oh my gosh, like a whole year at that point.
It had been going on
and
for
it was
almost
being complained
yeah.
about from December 2022 until
Yes.
this beginning of 2024. And it was nothing was done about it.
Yes.
Again, now this, and nothing was done about it. I just saw people commenting earlier that even locals, like people in this area, and obviously none of us had any idea because nobody talked. Nobody. There was complete silence for 2 months on this, because this happened months ago.
Yeah, and that's literally what I'm getting at.
We're
here.
only hearing about
and
this because people are coming out and talking to the media.
The connection I'm making here is that Scott Green could be the deciding factor in any of these situations. Okay, we already have seen confirmed 100%. And if you don't remember, I'm sure there's a lot of people that are watching that don't remember. We talk about so many topics and everything, but we've already proven 100% that Scott Green was in these 2-a-days and war rooms. And we've talked at length about it, of how unacceptable that is. That is not an acceptable thing to happen. Okay, that's like grabbing some random person off the street and being like, hey, do you want to sit in on this investigation with these 4 victims that lost their lives? I want to know how much input he had in those situations. I want to know why it was allowed for him to have access to any of that information that creates an extreme bias, because that college cannot function without the
fraternities,
without the Greek row and Greek community.
Yeah, it makes him, if fraternities are starting to be implicated and getting in trouble, that affects money big time for the university. If fraternities are getting in trouble, because then, we already know about the hazing. We know about all the issues with fraternities, and so many people are going to be very quick to call for it to be shut down. If there's issues like this, like them turning into a mob in a gang and attacking somebody, them murdering somebody, them doing, any kind of hazing, them doing anything that could harm people. People are going to be very quick to be like, it needs to be shut down because of all the issues of the past, for very good reason. And it calls into question, if there is a crime from a fraternity at the U of I, will they do anything about it? What about all the young kids that died of mysterious circumstances in the past, where we still don't have answers, like Hudson Lindau?
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you.
We still have no answers on that.
I think that there's some very big questions that need to be had. And I think that there's a very real connection between the Idaho 4 case and how that case was handled. And, you know, maybe tomorrow we'll go back through that information talking about Scott Green and the evidence. So you can, you know, get updated on that again.
Yeah, sorry.
But because listen, the connections here don't make sense, and delays happened in the investigation. Okay. And you know, I'm not law enforcement, but there are law enforcement people out there, like Chris McDonough, who's also drawing the same questions of why that local law enforcement handled things so poorly. And when we're looking into that, some of the questions to ask are, you know, was law enforcement dragging their heels because they were waiting for approval from somebody at the university?
Right. Is there, yeah. Are they looking to the university, like, are we allowed to investigate type of thing? Is that what you're saying?
I think anything, any involvement whatsoever is wrong.
Yeah.
And it makes me look and wonder why we have the volleyball situation and we have now this situation.
Mm-hmm.
Has this situation.
I
don't know. I'm not worried about it.
Okay.
Yeah, we talked about what that was. I'm not going to bring that up again. That's just somebody trying to control a topic. Let's stay focused here. Come on.
Okay. So, are there any more details around this?
I mean, we have this right here talking about the attorney for a family whose son was sucker punched.
That's a way to say it. Like, he was jumped.
Here.
It was a mob.
If you will read that.
Okay, so attorney says accountability clock is ticking for the U of I. Moscow-based attorney Tim Gresbach speaks on behalf of University of Idaho student Timmy Reed, who was punched unconscious during a February incident allegedly involving football players. The attorney for a family whose son was sucker punched unconscious in an incident allegedly involving University of Idaho football players called for accountability from the university on Wednesday. Moscow-based attorney Tim Gresbach spoke on behalf of U of I student Timmy Reed, who was attacked outside his residence during a February 10th incident involving 40 to 50 people, some of whom were allegedly Vandal football players. I'm curious what fraternity this is, or if it's multiple. Moscow police responded to the scene just before 11 p.m. February 10th because of a large fight with multiple people, according to a dispatch report. Moscow Police Captain Anthony Dollinger said Wednesday the investigation into the incident isn't finished because police are waiting for search warrants to be completed. Dollinger said when the investigation is done, the police will forward it to the Latah County Prosecutor's Office to determine if charges should be filed. The reason behind the large crowd's actions and arrival is still unclear, but Gresbach provided some speculations Wednesday during an online conference call with reporters. The attorney mentioned racial insults as a potential cause for the incident, but Gresbach disputed that by saying this is an unfair attempt to change the narrative. I think you need to scroll down on the screen.
What?
Scroll down.
I don't have it pulled up.
Oh, you don't?
No.
Oh. This is an unfair attempt to change the narrative. Okay. Wait. Now I lost my spot, of course. The attorney mentioned racial insults. Okay. The attorney said the Reed family, which lives in Weiser, Idaho, does not talk that way. So they're claiming that the young boy, okay, so Tommy Reed, that the boy who got jumped said a racial slur, but the family is saying they don't talk that way, so they don't believe it. Gresbeck explained that the inaccurate narrative shift of racial insults does not address why this large and intimidating mob showed up on Timmy's doorstep uninvited. Yeah, that doesn't make a ton of sense to me. Does it to you?
No.
The allegations that racial slurs, I mean, why wouldn't you just punch one person? Could have just punched him in the mouth when it happened.
Well,
you know what I mean?
I think what they're trying to suggest is that the violence started, the intent in violence started before they got there, because they came there with intent, right?
Yeah, but he's saying, so basically
they're saying that the intent for violence happened because he was saying racial slurs once they got there, but they weren't invited. That's the argument. They weren't invited, so the intent for violence happened before they got there.
Right.
They came there with a motive.
Right. Okay. So yeah, it doesn't address why this large intimidating mob showed up on his doorstep. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Okay. The allegations that racial slurs were thrown after the crowd's arrival didn't explain the epithets or their arrival in the first place. He said this group arrived in a concerted fashion looking for trouble, and by golly, they got it. Gresbeck also mentioned the potential of some twisted notion of revenge, because a week earlier at a different location, a member of Timmy's fraternity, Beta Theta Phi, allegedly had a tussle with a football player. Reed did not participate in that fight, according to Gresbeck, and he had nothing to do with any precipitating event. Weird. Timmy is an innocent victim. According to Gresbeck's statement, Reed and his two housemates planned a social event at their triplex near the Beta Theta Pi. It's Phi, right? Yeah, it's Phi. Fraternity house on the day of the incident. The gathering had barely started before an estimated 40 or more people arrived unannounced at 10:30 p.m. The crowd appeared to be University of Idaho students, some of whom wore masks, and some of them carried PVC pipes. It is believed that many in the group were football players at the U of I.
Right there. The crowd appeared. Hang on. Wait, there we go. The crowd appeared to be University of Idaho students, some of whom wore masks.
Some of whom, and some carried PVC pipes.
Yeah, so
if you're coming with a mask and a PVC pipe, you're clearly not there to party.
Intent on violence. Yeah. Yes, that's what I'm saying, is that they can claim he said whatever, right? Like, do words matter when you're in a situation where someone's already there to cause you violence? That's just not a very good argument. Well, he was saying racist stuff, so I had to grab my ski mask and PVC pipe and beat him.
Okay. So PHI is phi. So it's Beta Kappa Phi. Okay. Somebody just said it's phi. Okay, whatever. It doesn't matter. Anyway, but I agree with you. Absolutely. It's clearly intent, and it doesn't make sense. This whole fight with a football player a week ahead, something else is missing.
Yeah. So PHI is phi.
Okay. When the large crowd approached Reed's residence, he asked the group to leave, according to Gresbeck. Shortly after this interaction, Reed was struck. He fell to the ground, hit his head on the asphalt, and was knocked unconscious. He received medical attention at Quick Care after suffering a concussion, a fractured nose, and a black eye. The event has been difficult for Reed to live with. Gresbeck mentioned that the civil engineering student has become so addled with fear that he slept with a knife under his pillow. Timmy's parents, Nick and Melissa Reed, have raised thousands and thousands of dollars to provide scholarships. Oh my gosh, his parents provide scholarships for Idaho Vandal football players over the year. I didn't realize that was his parents with the scholarship fund. It said something about the scholarship fund. Remember, I didn't realize that was this kid's parent.
Yeah, they had to cancel it or delay it or whatever
They were-
because of the injuries, and
Yep.
they didn't want to supply money to potential people that harmed him.
Well, because it's specifically for football players, and they believe
Yeah.
many of the people in these crowd were football
Mhm.
players. So Nick and Melissa Reed were heavily involved in organizing the Vandal Summerfest fundraiser for the West Treasure Valley chapter of the Vandal Scholarship Fund. The organization voted 17-1 on April 2nd to cancel this year's fundraiser. The chapter's president, Marge Chipman, cited the incident as the direct cause of the cancellation in an email sent to the Lewiston Tribune, eliminating an estimated $35,000 in donations. That's a lot of money. Reed has been fully cooperative with the university and its investigation, according to Gresbach, and has voluntarily appeared for a police interview. The Reed family's biggest fear is this incident will be swept under the rug by the U of I. That's the family's biggest
120.
fear, is that this is going to
yeah.
be swept under the rug.
Yeah, how sad that is, not to be worried that something like this could happen to your kid, and then
Nothing will be done about it. It will be hidden.
Yeah, so why do they think that's going to happen?
Well, right? Why do
Hello.
they think that? Why would you think that?
Yeah, and again, this goes back to the 4chan theory and why so many people feel like that is a very real possibility in the Idaho 4 case, is that this college was going through financial issues, as was every college in the entire U.S., because the Rona stripped all the students away, right? The Rona hurt a lot of these institutions, and they couldn't afford losing financial income from these Greek fraternities and sororities. So what would happen if a fraternity and or sorority was the cause or involved in the Idaho 4 crime? Do you think that would be serious enough to remove all fraternities and sororities from all colleges?
I think there would be arguments for that. I do think there would be arguments for that. I think so. I mean, don't you think people would start demanding that?
I'm going to post a poll here and ask if people feel like the Greek life should be in colleges.
Okay, so I'll continue while you're posting the poll. I feel like I can almost hear the broom, Gresbach said. The end of the semester is nearly upon us. If there is a strategy to run out the accountability clock, it could very well be working. The attorney later said the alleged white football player identified as the perpetrator should not be the sole party held accountable. In a way, he too is a victim of a toxic, out of control, cavalier, vandal football culture that tolerates violence but lacks leadership. That's an intense statement. Gresbach said the white football player identified as the perpetrator should not be the sole party held to account. In a way, he too is a victim of a toxic, out of control, cavalier, vandal football culture that tolerates violence but lacks leadership. So he's literally saying there's a culture of violence at the U of I.
Yeah, hello. I think we have clearly seen it over and over and over and over and over again. You know, for those of you that are new viewers with us, and we have thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of new viewers. And we have quite a few people on actually between all the platforms. If you are watching us on some of the streaming platforms, just know we've covered every questionable death in Moscow for the last 5 or 6 years. And there's some very strange ones. And it just so happens to be that every single one of them was connected to the Greek life in some way. and most of them had been at a party, a Greek party, or
Yeah.
going or coming from or whatever, but there is a very clear and obvious connection. So is the Greek life at this university given more freedom than other universities and not held accountable in the same way that they are at other universities? And has this created a situation where their sororities and fraternities are violent?
Right.
Very possible, you
Well,
guys. I think very possible.
And this
here.
isn't anything new. This is a culture in many universities, fraternity, Greek life across the country.
Yeah,
Like, it's nothing new.
it's treacherous stuff, man.
It is. So Gresback didn't field any questions during this 10-minute speech and instead urged people to direct them to the university and the MPD. He finished his monologue by praising University of Idaho President Scott Green's track record of being bold, decisive, and fearless. But he claims the accountability clock is almost up for Green and the U of I. The change must come from the top, Gresback said. We respectfully demand the university respond subsequently by May 3rd so students can enter finals week knowing that President Green cares about their safety. The University of Idaho's Chief Executive Director of Communications, Jody Walker, said in an email, the university is aware of an off-campus after-hours incident. Of course, she had to make that very clear. Off-campus and after-hours incident at a private residence on February 10th that was reportedly violent in nature. This would fall into a criminal realm and the jurisdiction of the Moscow Police Department. Then why was Green at the briefings, war room, whatever, with the Idaho 4 murder? It was at a private residence after hours off campus. So if you won't be involved in this, then why were you involved in the Idaho 4 case? Seriously?
Should do you think there's some reason there for the purchase of the home? That was their reason why Scott Green was supposedly allowed in to these meetings.
Well, now this is a headline. This case right here with this boy being jumped is now a headline. So something's going to be done about it now.
Yeah,
guaranteed.
Now. What a shady situation.
But that's the thing. How many of these incidents, you guys, are there where there's no headline, so we don't know about it?
Agreed. Why did this take so long to come out? Why did it take so long for the volleyball drama and issues and abuse to come out? Why did it take so long for the investigation to gain any momentum in the Idaho 4 case? Why was Scott Green at every single war room? Why could Scott Green write a book when he was involved in the investigation? Why? I think there's a lot of very big questions here. And I wonder, okay, this is just another theory. You guys know how I feel about law enforcement. Law enforcement is there to protect and serve. What they should have said is, Scott, there's the door, dude. Go get out of here. You cannot be in here, Scott Green. Right. I know you run this town. I know you have a ton of power, but you're going to cause us to lose this case. So you can't be in here. There's the door. Okay.
Exactly.
Is what should have happened. But it doesn't sound like it did happen like that. And again, law enforcement is there to make decisions to protect and serve the community. So they should not be putting Scott Green above that, in my opinion. And it sounds like, based on all of this, Scott Green could have been above that. And it also sounds like if the 4chan theory has a very real possibility, because I do think it can stand on its own 2 legs. I do think it can hold water, but I do think that it's very easy for somebody in a position of power, like a Scott Green type position, could go into war rooms and say, you guys, let's look. I understand you really want to get these guys, but do you really think somebody in a fraternity could have done a crime like this? Come on. This is some incel motivated, crazy guy that isn't a social guy and has no connection here. So like, let's make sure before we wreak havoc in the people that support our town financially that we have it right. Look, that's not straight up fraud. That's not straight up manipulation. That could have been his hope for the investigation and scene. And that little bit of hope that was shared could have biased the investigation enough for them to, well, instead of searching this frat house, why don't we look over here first?
Exactly. Pushing in certain directions. I absolutely agree.
Call the fraternity connections and be like, hey, we're coming to search your house. So I just want to let you know that if you need to get your legal aspects or legal documents in order, we're going to be there at 2 p.m.
Or
today.
make sure you don't have drugs out, or make sure you get a hold of your fixer, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it said, you know, this was off campus, after hours, private residence on February 10th. That was violent. This could fall into the criminal realm in the jurisdiction of the MPD. Students to be believed to be involved have been contacted and asked to participate in a university investigation related to potential violations of the student code of conduct or any other police violations. The university cannot force students to participate, but encourages anyone with information to contact the Office of Civil Rights and Investigations, Walker's email said. That was it. That was her statement on the matter.
6,
We can't force students to participate.
plus 10, so 35.
You know, you can't force them to participate, but you sure can force them to stay quiet, can't you?
75. Yeah.
That's what it feels like. It's what it feels like. Just saying.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. It is the whole situation feels wrong.
It feels
to
just
me.
gross. It feels
It
icky.
does. It doesn't put victims first. It isn't it isn't support for the area. It isn't support for the students. It is shady and self-serving.
Okay, but do you not see the irony in what she just said? She just said this is a criminal investigation, essentially, that has nothing to do with the university. Yeah. But we can't force students to cooperate. Well,
yeah,
the police can.
Yeah.
The police absolutely can. If it's a criminal investigation, you have to cooperate.
You can. Yep. Exactly.
They absolutely can be forced.
Yep.
So what are we talking about? Like, that makes no sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. And athletes and universities absolutely are cherished, and they get away with way too much.
Yes. And no arrests so far. That's absolutely bizarre, you guys. Absolutely.
Yeah, because
insane.
There's been the guy who punched him has been identified.
Yeah.
They know who it is.
And no arrest.
No arrest.
That's insane.
They're claiming they're waiting on another search warrant.
And we're supposed to just trust that if they can't even handle a situation like this, like simple assault, okay, where they already have the names, they have the situation, they know what was going on, and they can't handle that, and we're expecting them to handle one of the biggest quadruple homicides in all of the last amount of history that I can remember, where you've had a case this big and a quadruple homicide. Oh man, I feel like I'm throwing a penny in a wishing well, you know?
Yeah, and exactly. There's no videos of this incident. You haven't found a video? Because that's bizarre. 40 to 50 kids, a mob of kids, and you're telling me not one recorded anything? Same incident with the Idaho 4. You're telling me that many kids were outside of the Idaho 4 home that morning, 1122 King Road, and not one video surfaced of the home?
Yeah, that's insane.
It's bizarre. What is up with the town?
Insane.
What is up with the secrecy? It's so weird.
And it's the exact reason that we're out here talking about it right now, today, because this does not feel okay. And it's not okay. It feels like everybody in this town and university is a potential victim of this horrible, twisted system that they currently have, that we're also expected to just believe their law enforcement investigation. You guys, how is that logical?
Right.
I'm having such a hard time. And I am pro police, you guys. In a situation where it's a toss up, whether law enforcement is doing something good or questionable, I normally side with law enforcement. But in this situation, I have such a hard time looking at this situation and seeing any little tiny itsy bitsy baby piece of trust or relevance or being worth my trust in anything having to do with this investigation, starting with the cell phone evidence, going into the DNA evidence, now seeing how the university is handling victims when it comes to the volleyball team, and now this situation. And what they do is they shove it under the rug and hope that it doesn't catch fire. How many of these people are out there? How many of this man right here, this man right here, how many of him is in Moscow? How many you think?
Gosh, look at his eye. It's so
that we don't know
bad.
about, you guys.
Ugh. Now let's see what Bill Thompson decides. They claimed that, once they get their search warrant, they're gonna, pass it over to the prosecutor and see if he wants to press charges. Let's see. We'll see what happens. Don't disappoint us, Bill Thompson. Charges absolutely should be pressed.
Listen, my issue isn't even with the prosecution's office. My issue is with law enforcement here. What is going on with their law enforcement?
What's going on with the university, law enforcement, and the prosecutor's office all combined?
Yeah, but we don't have a good gauge on the prosecution's office, because when you're handed a giant pile of doo-doo, as a prosecutor, you still have to move forward with
I think
that,
that's
right?
fair. I think that's fair.
As much as I think Bill needs some training and teaching because he can't handle himself very well in the courtroom, I don't necessarily see anything coming from him that's straight up fraudulent.
Yeah.
But I do see manipulative and fraudulent information coming from law enforcement. Absolutely, I do.
Yeah, I think
it's terrifying.
I think it's fair to say we don't have a good beat on the prosecutor's office, and we're really seeing a lot of issues mainly with the police and U of I. I do agree. It's hard to know exactly what's going on with the prosecutor's office, but apparently there's an article that Andrea Burkhart wrote that everyone was mentioning earlier about how it's like, I don't know, it's basically calling out Bill Thompson on his recent closed hearings motion.
Okay.
So I'm definitely going to read it, and we'll have to bring it up tomorrow because I'm very interested and intrigued. I would like to hear more about it, but I don't know. At first in this case, I felt like the blame was on the prosecution's office for the gag order. But now knowing how much the defense, like as we've seen it played out, clearly the defense wants the gag order, if not as much, more than the prosecutor does in this case.
I think that's fair, because we say this every time when we're talking about the Idaho for you guys. I am not here as a giant avocado and bacon pro burger, okay? I have no idea if Bryan Kohberger is innocent. I have no idea if Bryan Kohberger is guilty. I don't even care. That has zero relevance in my objective approach to this investigation. Bryan Kohberger isn't even thought about when I'm thinking about this investigation. What we're trying to focus on is how reliable are the words that have been put on a piece of paper that has been used to arrest a human being as the suspect of a crime. Those words on that piece of paper that's supposed to be the representation of the evidence that's found is manipulative. So far, it seems untrue. So far, leaves more questions than gives answers. And the person that just so happens to be the one that's impacted by this is Bryan Kohberger. I have no idea if he's innocent. I just know that there's a very big issue with the current story that is being portrayed in the PCA right here and now. But he could still be guilty. I 100% believe Bryan Kohberger could be guilty, just not in the way that the story currently presents itself, right? I don't know because I don't have enough information. I have 10% of the 100% that I need to make my determination and commitment to his innocence or guilt. So we aren't here to prove Bryan Kohberger is innocent. We aren't here to prove he's guilty. We are here looking into the investigation, and there's some massive questions, and it's because of the law enforcement.
And I think the whole state of Idaho honestly operates like a small town. Like it's all small town. You know what I mean? Like with the ISP, they're having this Gary Tolson come into all these major big cases, and he seems corrupt as heck, man. Like he seems so corrupt.
Tolson?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
we've talked about Tolson in length.
That's what I'm saying. Like, and he's been a part of a lot of major cases in the state of Idaho. And it makes you wonder, like, what is the culture of policing in Idaho? And with some of the laws we know that are very outdated, it seems like a culture issue here with policing. Like they're really behind in catching up on the rest of the country's policing. Like somebody in our comments just said that they support the police and that they have friends or family or something in LAPD.
Yeah,
but
I love the police.
But something feels not right here, that we're going to see corruption blown wide open in this small town. And I think it's very possible. And, you know, anybody who's familiar with LAPD knows that they were notorious back in the day for corruption.
Yeah, I mean, multiple times have they been almost broken down to bare bones because of their corruption and kicking officers out, firing officers, arresting officers. It
like
has been
Baltimore.
Multiple times. Yeah, absolutely.
Like Baltimore.
And it's taken a lot to get them.
Turn it
you
around.
Know what helped did that?
What?
Body cams that have to always be on or you're held accountable. Like there are ways to make sure our law enforcement officers are doing the right things. We just have to put them into play, and the cops are going to hate them. Even the good cops are going to feel like they're being watched over all the time. But, you know, if you're a good cop, do you want to be grouped in with the bad cops, which creates additional the feeling that you need to cover for bad cops? Or would you rather be, you know, praised for being a good cop and those cameras being used to hold the bad cops accountable?
Yeah, and police a lot of times are put in a really tough spot in a lot of situations, I think. So I think we need to support them. We just need to support, like, you know, like it's like with a kid, like you support the good things, not the bad things.
I agree.
You know what I mean? Like those bad things, I mean, unless they're like really bad, but like a whiny fit, you ignore that. And then when they stop whining and come give you a hug, you support that. And so when they get that, you know what I mean? Like with the cops, we need to support them when they're good and call it out when it's bad, essentially. But we can't ignore when cops are bad. The results of ignoring it are just not good. So it's not the best metaphor, but it's okay.
Yeah, I think it's fine. It's good.
Anyway, this whole situation is really weird. It's really, really weird. I'm so curious what started it.
The consistent like covering for students that are doing crimes, or
I mean the Tommy Reed situation, the boy that was hit. Like what happened? What happened?
I wish I knew. I don't know.
Is this that much of an issue in this community at the U of I? You know, the Greek row, the football players, I mean, sports in general, it seems. Is this that much of an issue that this is like not a huge thing?
I mean,
like,
I think
do the frats operate like gangs? Does the football team operate like a gang?
It sure seems like that. I mean, I think it was intentional that they used some of these kids were football players. No, most of these kids were probably fraternity members.
if not all of them.
Yeah, exactly. I think the majority were fraternity members, and I think that that verbiage is used intentional, absolutely,
to not call out a fraternity.
Oh, for sure. Yep.
I'm curious if we can get if we can get an idea of what fraternity is prominent in the football team, if that will help point us in any kind of direction.
I don't know. I just hope that people can be safe there. Look, I part of what we do is advocate for people in general, human beings, right? Even for the people that I don't agree with. If you don't agree with me, shoot, I'm probably going to be more interested in you and want to watch your content more if I don't agree with you, because I want to learn.
Right. Yeah.
And it all people should be advocated for. And what a horrible situation in the town where you go to cops, but nothing's being done. So now you're like, you know what? I can't trust the cops. I got to go to media. That's what we're seeing here. Like, are you realizing that what happened was his life was in danger and he was assaulted, a felonious type assault, masks, pipes, things like that. He went to the cops and the cops are like, oh yeah, we're going to take care of it. Don't worry. They didn't arrest the person.
Nothing happens.
They should have arrested him that night. And it's never brought up again to the point where they're like, yeah, we're going to media, dudes. Why on earth would law enforcement not bring it up that night?
Dude, it's been 2 months and nothing has been done at all, according to the family. The police are claiming they're waiting on search warrants.
Look, University of Idaho, Moscow police under scrutiny over alleged assault by football players.
Of course, not by frat members.
Right. That is insane. Insanity here.
So I wonder, are they thinking this fight? Okay, let's think about this for a second. Are they thinking this fight with a fellow? Okay, so Timmy Reed was in, what was it? Beta Kappa Phi.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what it was. So one of his fellow fraternity members was involved in a fight. Timmy had nothing to do with it, but he was there. Okay, and his friend was in a fight. His fraternity brother was in a fight. So is this the other fraternity that he was in a fight with coming and getting revenge because their guy got messed up?
I wish I knew,
because that is operating.
Like
that is operating like a gang.
Yeah, it is. It sounds like it tracks. I think that's a very real possibility.
I think that's the implication with mentioning the fight, because they didn't go into detail. They just said revenge and there was a fight and, he wasn't involved in it, but one of his fraternity brothers was. They didn't really take you there, but I think that's the implication, is that it's revenge from another group of people, another fraternity, basically, without saying it's a fraternity.
Yeah.
And saying some of them are football players. So what fraternity is prominent in the football?
I agree.
Team.
I think there's some huge questions here. I agree. What the heck is going on in Moscow, you guys? It just doesn't make sense. Nothing makes sense with this. I'm trying to understand it, and it just doesn't make any sense.
I agree. It doesn't.
Yeah. But anyways, let me see. What else do I got here? I think. Oh, okay. Tower updates and questions. We're going to hold off on tower updates and questions. We will get back into the tower tomorrow, you guys. But I did do some research. Who was it that brought up the tower details? Let me see real quick.
Yeah, we also need to get into some Ray details too. But yeah, we'll save that for tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow will be Ray and tower if we can help it. Is this the Moscow area? Right here? Yeah, okay.
Yep.
And there's supposedly another tower that somebody says is a Sprint tower, and it was disabled somewhere that I need to look into. So yeah, I see a tower here. There's definitely new towers though. I gotta be honest with you guys. There's some new towers here, you know, not in this area, but I mean in this area in general. And you have the,
Well, those are all the originals right there.
yeah, this is expanded.
I don't know. Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm positive. There's additional frequencies here that weren't there previously.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Which is fine. We knew that this was
Does this backdate at all? This mapping software, does it backdate to coverage in the past?
I don't know. I'll figure it out.
Okay.
But you know, I'm definitely we will dig into it for sure. All right, you guys, that is it for the True Crime Talk Show, brought to you, yes, you, by Thought Riot Podcast. And my name is Brendan.
And I'm Malia.
And we appreciate you. Hit that thumbs up button. Hit those 3 stars. Hit those 5 stars. Hit those 10 stars. And leave a comment under the video for our YouTubers, right? For our YouTubers. For everyone else on the other platforms, really the engagement needs to be during the stream, not after the stream. YouTube is engagement after the stream. So just remember that the powers that be do not want people seeing this video. Okay, so you call to action, hitting that thumbs up button, leaving a rating, and leaving a comment under the video. You are the one supporting Thought Riot Podcast and pushing people to continue to grow their knowledge. Knowledge is great. Knowledge is everything. Learned knowledge is where we you know, reign champion in this crazy animal world, right? And I think it's a gift, and it is awesome, and it should be shared with everyone. So please share this video with family, share this video with friends, let them know Thought Riot Podcast would love to hear their opinion on anything true crime related. We want to know what you want to hear, and we want to know what cases you like so we can cover them, and leave them in the comments, and we'll appreciate that big time. We have a super chat here. Y'all, I made a video you could use as an intro. Oh, I'll check it out. That's incredible.
Yeah, thank you,
Bryce. That is awesome. Send our link to the email, if you will, and hang on.
Are you telling me to put the email in the chat?
Yes, please put the email in the chat and send it to the email. For everyone else, I am posting the Discord link right now. We have a Discord, and our Discord is free, and it is a free update service, and it's a place to continue the conversation and hang out and chat and you know, get into some trouble. Not really, but you know what I mean. I also posted our Patreon link, and we have a free tier on there, and we also have paid tiers. If you're somebody that wants to help support the channel, you can do it that way. We have quite a few supporters on there, and on a couple of the other platforms, but it's not needed, you guys. It is not needed. Okay, if you support the channel, awesome. If not, awesome. We still want you to come hang out with us, and we appreciate you. So yeah.
Yes. Thank you guys so much for being here tonight. And yes, this video will self-destruct in 20 seconds.
All right. Thank you, guys, and we will see you